have a safe one by learning your ABCs. A is for action plan. Having an action plan means you know what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. B is for be safe. Be aware of the hazards you may face in the local area. C is for connect. Connect to abc.net.au/emergency for the latest emergency information. During an emergency, listen to your local ABC radio station. ABC Radio is your emergency broadcaster.
ABC Sport Digital Radio, your home of basketball.
ABC News, good evening, I'm Yvette Gray. The federal government is suggesting the way that some Palestinians previously issued with Australian visas managed to flee Gaza was a factor in their cancellation. Matthew Doran reports from Parliament House.
Several Palestinians have expressed surprise and disappointment after learning their visas were cancelled after they fled Gaza, with little explanation as to why, and are now worried they're stranded in third countries because they can't travel on to Australia. A spokesperson for the Home Affairs Minister, Claire O'Neill, says the government recognises the distress many are feeling, and while it is committed to helping people trying to leave Gaza, it makes no apology for doing everything necessary to maintain national security. The spokesperson says that if people make it out of Gaza without explanation or their circumstances change in any meaningful way, the government will take the time to consider how that affects their situation.
The gold mine at the centre of a deadly rock collapse in regional Victoria is expected to reopen as early as next week. Andy Yu reports.
Ballarat Gold Mine is closed after a rockfall on Wednesday, which claimed the life of 37-year-old Kurt Hourigan and left a 21-year-old in a critical condition. Nearly 30 workers rushed to a safety pod when the disaster occurred. The Australian Workers' Union claims miners were using a manual drilling technique known as air legging, which is considered unsafe. WorkSafe Minister Danny Pearson says he's spoken with the regulator.
WorkSafe have commenced an investigation to find out what has happened. I think it's appropriate that that investigation be allowed to run its course.
Miners are being paid while the mine is closed, and the union says the mine could reopen as early as next week.
Authorities are responding to reports a teenage girl has been bitten by a shark at Bargara near Bundaberg in southern Queensland. Paramedics were called to the beach to treat a female patient for non-life-threatening wounds to her back and legs. Long COVID sufferers are angered by a call from the Queensland Chief Health Officer to stop referring to long COVID when talking about people with ongoing symptoms following a COVID infection. The Sunshine State's top doctor made that call after a Queensland study found long-term post-COVID viral symptoms were indistinguishable from those associated with all viral infections. Long COVID sufferer Miquette Abercrombie has been experiencing severe symptoms since her initial infection in April 2022. She used to run long distances but now experiences severe fatigue and uses a wheelchair.
To say that I was healthy is an understatement. I was super fit. And now I can't even walk to my front door. This is real, and there is so many of us suffering.
Authorities in Bali have named an Australian woman who died in a landslide as 47-year-old Angelina Smith. Indonesian correspondent Bill Birtles reports.
Angelina Smith, also known as Angelina Knight, was staying with her Dutch partner in a wooden villa when it collapsed in a landslide early on Thursday morning during heavy rain. Both their bodies have been moved to the regional capital, Denpasar. Ms Smith spent significant time in Bali, from where she ran mysticism and alchemy workshops and practiced dance and yoga. She was also a permanent resident of the United States. The Department of Foreign Affairs says it has offered assistance to her family. Bill Birtles, ABC News, Jakarta.
Citizens across Russia are voting for the next president in an election taking place over 3 days. Thamalia Nevada reports.
It's the first presidential election that'll last longer than 1 day, and it's not just Russians casting ballots. Ukrainians under Russian occupation, such as in parts of the Zaporizhia and Kherson regions, are also being coerced into voting. There are 4 names on the ballot, but President Vladimir Putin isn't facing any real opposition. All of his serious rivals are either in prison, in exile, or dead. The war in Ukraine is the key issue for voters, alongside Russia's economic resilience in the face of Western sanctions and Mr. Putin's crackdown on dissent.
A photo of a football covered in goose barnacles has won this year's British Wildlife Photography Awards. The picture was chosen from more than 14,000 entries by both amateur and professional photographers. The image, which also won the Coast and Marine category, was taken by Ryan Stalker. To the weather, there's a strong wind warning for the Port Phillip and West Coast. Partly cloudy and dry apart from isolated showers and thunderstorms over the far northwest. For Melbourne, sunny tomorrow, a top of 29 after an overnight low of 14. Sunday, partly cloudy, 29. Monday, also 29. Tuesday, showers increasing, 26. It's currently 24 degrees. ABC News.
This Thursday night kicks off a big weekend of footy. And you can listen big on the ABC Listen app. AFL, NRL and ABC Sport brings you the match between the Socceroos and Lebanon.
Good ball into the box, laid off the chest nicely. Jamie McLaren's there for the hat-trick.
The World Cup qualifier, Australia and Lebanon.
Ryan Grant has a cross goal, Jamie McLaren hits it in.
Hear it live Thursday night on the ABC Listen app.
ABC Sport.
We begin this broadcast by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which this match will be played today and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening.
And the moment of truth has arrived.
If you think you have anything other than a split second in this game right now, you're kidding yourself.
It's all to play for.
Every single bloke has stood up.
They are leaving nothing out there.
I wouldn't want to be anywhere else on earth.
Welcome to ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL Premiership season.
From 55, side-bottom, launches, goal! The Crows Magpies are on top of the AFL world. They win a spellbinding game of footy. Collingwood are greatness.
This is ABC Sport.
The umpire holds the footy up.
You want your very best players having the ball in the moments that matter. Take your moment. This is that moment.
Something's in the air.
Listen to the roar.
Feel a different energy.
The pressure's certainly gone up.
Feel it on your skin.
Punches the air with the right hand.
Feel the electricity.
That's why we love football.
Brilliant to watch.
Stand by. The arms are outstretched as he pumps his chest out.
Fill your lungs, fill your lungs. Are you ready for it?
Wherever you are, do not move.
We're going the full journey.
'Cause here it comes, here it comes.
This is the 2024 AFL Premiership season.
From outside 50, goes bang with everything he's got.
Former bad boy looking to redeem himself with kicks like that.
Something big is coming, something big is coming.
One step nonchalant banana finish. Wow. Charlie Cameron snaps, goal.
Something big is coming.
Hey Siri, play John Denver.
AFL.
From deep in the pocket. Oh, that is amazing.
Fill your lungs, are you ready for it?
This guy wants to add home on the biggest stage.
And Gordon can finish from 35. Oh, Errol.
It's there.
Superb finish.
What a hanger.
He joins the party.
Walks through the goal. Oh, what a moment.
Brilliant, wasn't it?
There's nothing this man can't do. Rioli with some magic. The check side finish. He seizes the moment. Stolen. Snapped it over his shoulder. He's kicked an absolute ripper.
Spins around and buries it.
Lightning speed, Bobby Hill. He's Bobby Thrill.
This is just football at its best.
Weaves around an opponent and gets a brilliant goal.
Gathers, snaps, to bring the house down. Time to steady and pull the trigger. Right foot drop punt is pure. We're not done yet.
The 2024 AFL Premiership season on radio, Sport Digital, and take us with you on the ABC Listen app. Just look for the AFL button.
Something big is coming, I know.
The continuation of round one of the AFL Premiership season. 10 sets of fans involved for the first time this weekend, but they'll have to wait another day as it's take two for Collingwood and Sydney. For the Magpies, they're looking for a mulligan after their first up misstep to GWS. While for Sydney, they're looking to try and keep the ball rolling after a win on opening night. The Pies already tonight have unfurled their Premiership flag, which is a talking point in itself over an hour before the bounce of the ball. We are now inside 35 minutes before the start time on Friday night footy, which has come forward 10 minutes in 2024. It is Collingwood versus Sydney. There is no late change. Sydney, in fact, unchanged from the team that beat Melbourne last Thursday night. Sam Wicks is their sub. And for Collingwood, Finn McRae is going to start as the sub. There's no room for Mitchell or Noble. Howe and McRae come back into the team that lost to the Giants. It is a glorious day in Melbourne that is coming to a close. 25 degrees, still currently sunny and clear, which is good news, getting down to only 15 tonight. So perfect for footy. The surface looks immaculate after it's been relayed after the tailor-made damage from the 3 concerts that were staged here late last month. My name's Corbin Middlemass. I'm very pleased to say our Friday nighters are here for footy in Melbourne all season long. We too are unchanged for a third straight year. Tim Hodges on the boundary, Cameron Ling, the legendary Geelong Premiership player and captain, Mick Malthouse, the game's record holder in VFL AFL footy, myself, Corbin Middlemass, and firstly off the top, Kelly Underwood celebrating 25 years covering the footy. I said to you when you walked in, Kel, you must have started when you were 7 years of age. It's great to see you.
Oh, thank you. Corbin, you've embarrassed me right off the top. I think I started the same year, Lingy, so I'm not the only one that's brought up the 25. But I love this early start because clearly I'm getting older, so I like the 7:40 start on a Friday night. And I like the earliest start to the season as well. Do you know this is the earliest start in more than 2 decades to a season to the AFL since 2000 when they pulled it forward because of the Olympics. But as you said, a warm March night in Melbourne, nowhere else would rather be. It feels like the rhythms and the flow of this city are back. It was interesting watching from afar, wasn't it? No doubt the opening round worked, but everyone in Melbourne was just itching to go to a game. And I think what happens this weekend is everyone gets to see their team play, including the Black and White Army. As you mentioned, they were here early. The cheer squad were in position about 2 hours before they unfurled the Premiership flag, and all the black and white around you, as you see, takes you back to that last Saturday in September when we maybe just saw the best grand final of all time. So bring it on. When you just think about grand final day and the black and white, you look around here at the moment and there is black and white everywhere you look. Just reminds us of that special day, and there's a bit of a crackle in the air tonight, isn't there?
And now for the difficult balance between acknowledging and celebrating with your fan base for everything that you've achieved and the focus on the here and now, and these two men have lived it throughout their decorated careers. First of all, Cameron Ling, lovely to see you again.
Great to see you, Corbs. You're back in the country. You got to see some good Test match cricket. Sensational stuff there. I'm with you, Cal. I'm pumped and excited. This feels more like footy's back and footy started. I didn't mind watching some of the games from the couch last week, but when the mercury was hitting 39, 40 degrees, I was quite happy there was no footy in Victoria last week. But, good crowd building already. I'm not in the camp, I just want this off the top, that there's any panic about Collingwood and they've celebrated too much. They're too focused back in the past of last year and how good that premiership was. I think they got some things to work on from last week, absolutely. But you've got to enjoy and you've got to unfurl the flag. All these things have just got to happen. You've got to take part in a bit of a TV thing that looks back on that premiership. You do all that. I'll back this team in to be pretty focused. I think we'll see a much sharper Collingwood tonight, ready to go. They will have reviewed last week's vision pretty closely, and just a few players realised, you don't just turn up to a game of AFL footy and get back into the same form you were in at the end of last year. You've got to work hard to play that good footy again. That'll fix them up. They'll be right tonight.
Collingwood's only premiership defence that started zip and 2 was 1959. And they've won a lot of premierships. They've won as many as any other team in the history of this competition, now getting to 16, equal with Carlton and Essendon. That's VFL, AFL history, of course, including going way back to 1897. One man who contributed to one of those flags in particular is Mick Malthouse. Mick, it's great to see you in the flesh. You were up in Sydney last week. You got to see both these teams firsthand. What are we in for tonight?
Corby, thank you. I hope that we can bring to the listeners a pretty good game of football. I don't see any reason why that won't happen. You've got Sydney who will scrag and scratch and bite to win the football, put pressure on, and that's what they did to Melbourne last week. Collingwood were beaten by a side that worked the ball pretty well. I'm with Lingy. It's far too early to write the Pies off. I think they're a very good football side. In fact, I think they made I'll tell you how serious I really think they are by making a statement for start off. They mixed up the words managed from dropped, but that's the only reason. That's the only word they got wrong with Mitchell. I come away and we've got Ben up behind us, Ben Cameron, who was, and I worked with Ben up there, and I said at the time he looks dreadfully slow. And you can't have too many slow plays in and around the middle. And I think they've just said, no, we're not going to do it. So by making that move, they've virtually declared, hey, we're not accepting last week. We're going to change it up, and we're going to and a move like that says something to the other player group. They go, well, hang on, it's not that he was the greatest player last year, but he was a very handy player last year. Got them into a lot of good positions with his hands and his short kicking. So the Pies, it's a difficult game to say. You've got to win the first game. Okay, Storm over the road have won the last 20 or something in
22,
which is unbelievable. But this competition is growing and sides are getting better. There's some sides falling off, and that's what happens in a competition like this. It's when you have to go to the draft. So they played a side that was red hot last week. Now, whether they can hold it up too, and that's the Giants. The Giants are always a bit of a payback. You don't take the Premiership Cup off them because you lost. So the test will be now, can Collingwood get that structure right against a side that will try to occupy that centre square?
And Tom Mitchell played every single game last year, and he was brilliant in that grand final. So it's almost brutal at selection that he's been dropped after one poor game.
Well, looking through the draw, looking through what's happening this weekend, am I reading it right that Jack Macrae's been dropped? Not dropped, but hasn't got a game?
Left out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone's immune to being left out of the side.
Yeah.
And I look at that. I looked at that one, and all through the week I'm thinking to myself, Collingwood, we're going to have to make a big decision through that midfield, because that's where you win and lose games.
And the statement made, right, you're right, Mick, is Mitchell was part of a midfield group that didn't just kind of break even, maybe lower their colours. They got destroyed.
Smashed.
Whitfield, 33 touches. Kelly, 32 and a goal. Tom Green, 30 and a goal. Cornelio, 28, plus others who were in there.
Yeah.
That was a complete obliteration.
Against a very good football side.
Yeah.
You've got to remember that, don't forget, Oliver was back in there. Sorry, I'm talking about Melbourne. So against a side that dominated last week in their ruckman for a start off in Grundy, so they're going to be up against Grundy. But more importantly, the Sydney midfield took Melbourne apart on a lot of occasions. It wasn't just one or two. And of course, Melbourne couldn't have Petrarca forward and mid, so when he went out the mid, the Sydney midfield, so this will, I reckon they've made the move because they see how potent Sydney could be.
No late change. This is Grandstand AFL on ABC Sport. Corbin Middlemouse, Kelly Underwood, Tim Hodges on the boundary, Cameron Ling and Mick Malthouse. For many people in footy, winning a premiership is the culmination of a lifetime's work. And for you greedy gentlemen, you've done it multiple times. So not only have you lived through a premiership defence, but you've been able to learn from previous defences and what didn't quite go right and what you could do better next time. Having lived it on multiple occasions, and Craig McRae's living it here for the first time with Collingwood, what do you learn? What is it that you're trying to get right at this time, having just won the flag and you're entering a new season, coming up against teams that you're 5 weeks behind them now in the pre-season?
Yeah, you learn that you're good and you're a good team and your best is good enough to beat everyone and to win it. So that just builds this core belief in you. So that's a beautiful feeling. That's a magical feeling where you can go into games saying, okay, if we do this, this and this really well, we will win this game. So that's fantastic. On the flip side, though, Corbs, is the fact that you have 17 teams hunting you down. They want you. They want to take a scalp every single week. Even the rubbish teams who are not going to play any part in the finals, they want you. So they want you individually and they want you as a collective, as a team. So they come after you every single week. And that takes its toll. I mean, you would have experienced it, Mick, where you just know that every team is going to try and pick apart any tiny little thing that you might do. And it gets exhausting.
Well, it's interesting. I'll go right back to 1980, where in 1979, Richmond finished outside the 4 in those days. And we come from nowhere, but had full belief that we could, and we won it from 4th, I think. I'm not too sure. We certainly didn't finish on top. We dropped our last game to South Melbourne by 8 or 9 goals by being on top. We may have come second. So we won that. We didn't only win the premiership. We recruited Maurice Rioli, and so
he was pretty good.
He was pretty good. So he had some sight. And guess what happened? Didn't even make the 4.
Yeah,
we didn't make the 4. The following year, we finished on top, and there's no question. As a player looking back over it 2 or 3 years later, I said, 50. There's no 50-50 ball. You get it, or he gets it, or you have a big collision. We didn't get the 50-50 ball, so it was lack of hunger. You cannot measure hunger until halfway through the year you go, oh, you know what, they just haven't got that real grunt about them. 1992, the whole state celebrated something that was unique. And really, probably when you analyse what that 92 premiership side did, outside the fact that they won, it legitimised the AFL. But we could that pressure just built too much for us, and I don't know how much we all of us, both committee, coaches, players, and everyone, we just couldn't find that spark, and we won the next year.
Yep.
So I've been there and done it as a player and as a coach, so I understand how hard it is. Lingy, you didn't do back-to-back, did you?
No, so 08 was as close as we got. We made the grand final.
Yeah,
and that was just almost sheer exhaustion, just trying to hold on, that hunting, and it just
2011 for us.
Yep.
Exactly the same. Exactly the same.
And it can. We're talking minor percentages here, where you're off and the other team's on that day, and it's
So you tried to do it in 08, and 2010 you went out in the prelim.
In prelim, we got belted by Mick.
Yeah, and then Mick, the most recent one for our listeners is 2011 when you tried to do it. I was having a look back through it today.
75 years, Kel. It took the club 75 years to get to that position.
And you lost 3 games in 2011 to the bloke sitting next to you, to Lingy's Cats, including that grand final, which would have been both your last games, Lingy. You kicked that goal and signed off, and you finished up in 2011. Take us back to that 2011 season. What was the biggest hurdle?
The biggest hurdle was the fact...
Because you had the team, didn't you? You had it to go back to back.
I think a lot of people wouldn't have realised that we were really suffering physically through that year, because we were reminded it was 75 years, which I'm still trying to work out how it was 75 years, but anyway, so they say 75 years.
Well, it's 88 now, since Collingwood have gone back-to-back and counting.
Yeah, so whatever it was, so to get Collingwood into the grand final again. So that was sort of in my mind and my match committee's mind. So we were almost exhausted thinking, how do you get there and how do you do that sort of stuff? But we were picking up injuries on the way through, but they weren't big enough and bad enough. And our top end our mid-20 players, the previous year was Medhurst, Lockyer, O'Brien, Fraser. When I say that they were that sort of 24, 25, 26, 27, they could have easily fit into the thing, but they were all gone. They were all retired. So then we only had kids, so we were sort of forced to play the same group, and we had little niggles. We lost, Maxwell broke his arm and missed 8 weeks. Shaw got 8 weeks suspension, blah, 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 blah. It all happened. Yeah. And we just couldn't. And then we had a massive game against Hawthorn here in the prelim. We didn't need that. We didn't need to have to really go to the last kick to win that, because we knew Geelong had had an easy one against West Coast. So, they're the little things that Lingy said 1%. It's only 1% to beat you.
Yeah.
Because if Geelong hadn't been 1% up, we had it. We win that game.
It's amazing to think still side bottom and Scott Pendlebury were there doing it with you in 2011, and now they're going to try and do it in 2024.
Yeah, that's right.
Selfishly too, Mick, I'm glad you had it, because you delivered us one of the greatest preliminary finals we've ever seen between Collingwood and Hawthorn that night here at the MCG. Very quickly, we'll hear from Jack Crisp, who's caught up with Hodgie a short time ago. Firstly, Lingy, the idea of doing the unfurling of the flag so early. So it's an hour and 3 minutes when the ceremony ended. Started at 6:16 p.m. Footy doesn't start until 7:40 local time. What gives? Why so early?
Why so early, I don't know. I know I probably get it, where it's trying to separate between celebrating last year to job to do tonight. I will say, any unfurling I was ever a part of, when you were playing in the game, you had nothing to do with it. You had an awareness of it. You might have had one official duty to do out there, but you were focused on the game. It was more for everybody else around.
So tell me, Lingy, my memory is deserting me. I can't even remember the flag being unfurled, certainly with West Coast and certainly the last Collingwood one. So when did it happen with you as captain running down the race?
So the unfurling took place, so let's say...
Were you out in the ground by the stage?
No, it would have been in the warm-up. It would have been... I'm just going to guess here and say 30 to 40 minutes before the game started. It was the first home game of the following season, so that's why it's tonight for Collingwood. Maybe an hour and a bit is a touch early, but it's not crazy early.
Right. But I guess the accusation is, are they a bit self-conscious? They got beaten so badly first half, but then they come back home and they think, gee, are we going to get accused of taking our eye off the ball? And
so this wasn't organised previous. This week, was it?
That's the question.
That's and we're never going to know that.
If that was the reason, then they've done it for the wrong reason.
If it was 30 minutes before and it now became an hour and a bit, yep. But if it's always been an hour, that's fine.
It's great to have Tim Hodges with us again in 2024. We can head down to the boundary for the first time tonight and inside the Collingwood camp. Hodgie.
Corbin, we love the access the Magpies give us. Jack Crisp has joined us so close to the bounce of the ball. Jack, is it different coming back to this place after what happened on September 30 last year?
It is a little bit. The weather's still pretty similar. It's hot still, but I came back for Taylor Swift, so it's not the first time I've been back here.
I was looking at your socials today, and you were at Taylor Swift with the girls. Are you amazed how good the condition of the ground is after what was here 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think it looks actually spectacular. I can't wait to run out and see how it goes tonight. But it looks amazing. The game went really well on it last night, and keen to play again. A lot of games on it throughout the year.
How are you feeling about tonight? Was the confidence shaken at all with what happened last Saturday night against the Giants?
No, not really. We had a great week on the track this week in terms of preparation, but we had to come back to a bit more focus on team defence and I guess having a bit more intent and urgency on that side of things. We did give ourselves some good looks at times. Unfortunately, couldn't finish when we were in front of goal. So, we trained really well this week, and then hopefully we can play a good, consistent 4 quarters.
Has there been much mention of what happened here late September last year on grand final day? I know you weren't up here for the flag going up. You were inside in the coach's room. Is that weird, not being up here? Did you want to see it?
No, I wasn't too fussed, to be honest. We've touched on it numerous times, obviously, in the pre-season, but we're about getting back to work and kind of focusing on what's next. And, we're a process-driven team, so we're just kind of focus on what's next and task at hand.
So the process, are you confident still that you do them, you're still at your best? Nothing changes after what happened against the Giants?
Yeah, 100%. We know if we come out and give ourselves the best opportunity to play with lots of energy and intent and urgency, the game will at some stage go our way. It's just a matter of when we get the ball forward in our forward half, we can kind of lock it in there and give ourselves the best opportunity to score.
Just a couple of players to focus on. Finn McRae, what advice would you give him? He gets his shot tonight on the biggest stage of all on Friday night. What do you say to him?
I think just enjoy it and soak it up. It's been a bit of a tough journey for him the last couple of years especially, but he's worked so hard for this spot on the team, and he should have complete faith in his own ability and confidence in what he's been able to do to come out and play his role.
This round last year, your good mate Jeremy Howe ended up in hospital with his arm in bits. It's so important to have him back tonight, isn't it? You did miss him last week.
Yep, definitely 100%. He's a key cog in our defence. I think the way he attacks the ball in the air with his obviously speckies, but then the way he kills it with his spoils as well. It's very volatile the way we play. And it'd be great to have him back out here to start his season off.
And what about Brodie Grundy? How do you discuss how you approach dealing with Brodie when you see him again?
As a midfield group, we've kind of obviously studied what he does in the ruck and his follow-up stuff, but we'll do our best to combat that and kind of play to our own strengths at the same time.
He was damn good last week, wasn't he?
Yeah, he competes hard, so we'll have to be wary of that, obviously, but we've got Darcy Cameron who will also be strong on the follow-up, so we'll see how they go in the battle.
I wasn't stalking you, Jack, but I did see on your Instagram account you had a sleep this afternoon with your daughter.
Yeah.
Nothing phases you. You're not are you nervous, or joining us doing media so close to the bounce? You're just pretty cool.
Yeah, no, not really. I'm a lot more relaxed these days. It's good having the kids at home to keep you grounded and obviously take your focus away from football, make it a bit easier. I was going to have a nap in the bed, but she fell asleep with me on the couch, so I thought, why not? I'll just lay there too and have a nap. So, an hour and a half later, we both woke up.
90,000 at the G, it'd never get old, would it? This would be awesome tonight.
Nah, it's unbelievable. We live for these moments. You think about it all pre-season, how much you want to play games of football, and what better night than a beautiful sunny Friday night at the G with 80, 90,000.
We appreciate your time so close to the bounce. Thanks, mate.
Pleasure. Thank you.
There you go, Corbin. Jack Crisp from the Magpies. We appreciate Collingwood. They're always so good with us in the media, and here's one cool cat so close to the bounce of the ball.
Absolutely. Echo those sentiments. Thanks, Hodgie. The Iron Man of the AFL, Jack Crisp, 216th consecutive game for him tonight as he hunts that all-time record. He joins the rest of his teammates as they're milling around at the bottom of the race, about to make the walk-up. Here are the change rooms at the, the more western end of the stadium, so closest to the goals at the city end and the wide race. Bobby Hill has a new look. He's got the peroxide blonde hair and the Magpies with the slow jog. We might just listen in on this as the reigning premiers make their way onto the G for the first time in their premiership defence. Darcy Moore leads them out. He's Dan Peter, the Cup ambassador last year, and he brought the Cup out, the 16th one that Collingwood have won in VFL AFL history. Moments before the flag was unfurled. Now the pyrotechnics and the club song hits, and Collingwood burst through the banner in the black and white traditional stripes with the black shorts. Sydney were already out there with their jumper, a little nod to the old South Melbourne days, and the white jumper with the red V. The full call, the full preview from Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling is coming up in a few moments from now. No late change at the G. Up next.
This Thursday night kicks off a big weekend of footy. And you can listen big on the ABC Listen app. AFL, NRL, and ABC Sport brings you the match between the Socceroos and Lebanon.
Good ball into the box, laid off the chest nicely. Jamie McLaren's there for the hat-trick.
The World Cup qualifier, Australia and Lebanon.
Ryan Grant heads across goal. Jamie McLaren hits it in.
Hear it live Thursday night on the ABC Listen app.
ABC Sport.
Welcome to ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL Premiership season.
Footy's biggest weekly stage, Friday night footy.
Footy's back now.
Oh, footy's back, baby.
Pulls the trigger on goal and goes bang.
'Cause here it comes, here it comes.
AFL.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the AFL.
On ABC Radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
Something big is coming, I know.
Sydney ruckman Brodie Grundy was able to exact some revenge on his old team last week, proved he's still got it now for another set of familiar faces. The team that started the Grundy domino and the team that went on to win the flag, they unfurled it without him earlier tonight. The Collingwood Football Club trying to go back-to-back for the first time in 88 years up against Brodie Grundy and his new mates, the Sydney Swans, trying to start the season a perfect 2-0. Friday night footy at the MCG for the first time in 2024. Corbin Middlemass and Kelly Underwood to call the action. Tim Hodges on the boundary. And our grandstand AFL experts for a new year unchanged for the third straight season in the ABC commentary box, which in the media landscape is one hell of an achievement which should be celebrated as we're looking to try and go back to back in this box. Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling.
Well, thanks, Corby. It's great to work with you people, by the way. Let me just say that I'll put on the record right now. It's very enjoyable.
You people, he doesn't even know our names after 3 years.
we were wondering why you kept coming back, so that's good.
I'll ignore that, Kel. The big thing tonight for me is I'm so much looking forward to Grundy's efforts of last week being repeated. He had 9 clearances. Now, whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, I gave him a vote because I reckon his game over the journey was so much better than Gawn. I reckon Gawn's one of the best players in the competition.
Yep.
What he did, he worked out. We all know what Max Gawn is like. He gets it under the ball or comes back in, pushes back inside you. Grundy knew all this sort of stuff, so he was able to come in front and pull him back and was able to get all the tap work right in front. So under those circumstances, if he has another 9 clearances, it's unbelievable. Ruckman could have 9 clearances.
And Brodie Grundy showed last week what the best version of Grundy is.
Yes.
He needs to play
as a ruck.
Big ruckman minutes. He's not a forward. He could maybe, if he got a little mismatch, drift down there for a 2-minute patch, but he's a ruckman and he wants to run after the ball, get after it, hunt after it, use his strength, use his smarts, use his athleticism as a ruckman, Mick. And it helped a slightly new look Sydney midfield function really effectively. I mean, obviously Luke Parker and Callum Mills are still missing.
There was just terrific.
Heaney, that move for Heaney, I was screaming for it to happen last year. Your best, most dynamic player needs to be around the footy most often. And I don't mean play as a midfielder who goes deep into defence and just racks up touches, but that midfield and forward half midfield type player is Isaac Heaney. Combined with Goulden and Warner and these quality players, it's a pretty good midfield when Brodie Grundy's playing like he did last week. So that's Collingwood's challenge, is the fact that the Giants midfield tore them apart last week. They're going to have to be really sharp to not let that dynamic Sydney midfield get going a bit tonight.
I saw some numbers on Isaac Heaney during the week. So last year he spent less than 20% in the midfield,
right.
77% last week.
Yeah, I reckon he was injured a lot last year, though. When I say that, he was carrying injuries. And you've got, if someone's carrying look, it only has to be a bruised thigh. The last place you want him is in the hurly-burly smack bang in the middle, because, let me say, we all know they run into each other. And when you've got players now that are in the 90-kilo bracket running into you, particularly your thigh when the ball's low, you just ask for trouble. So I can almost understand that, because he just never seemed to be able to get clear. His shots on goal were dreadful, and I think it was because of the way he was planting his foot. I think he had ankle problems, and I know he got a few big corkies. So, look, that might be one of the reasons.
5 minutes away from the bounce, Corbin, Middlemouse, Kelly Underwood, Tim Hodges, Cameron Ling and Mick Moldhouse. Just to let you know, there are no late changes. So Collingwood with 2 changes at selection on Thursday night. Howe and McRae are in. Finn McRae's going to be the sub. Tom Mitchell and John Noble left out. And Sydney have the exact same 23, even down to the fact that Sam Wicks is the sub for the second game in a row. Sydney trying to make it 2-0, while for Collingwood, they're trying to avoid the unenviable 0-2 start to their premiership defence. They've only done that once previously in club history, and that was way back in 1959. For our audience that we've just picked up, Mick Moldhouse and Cameron Ling, level of concern with Collingwood after that first up misstep?
I don't have the concern. I think they're a wonderful team. I think they will have corrected a few things during the week. Just a little reminder, a gentle reminder, that every game of AFL football you turn up to, you have to work extremely hard to give your team a chance to win. You don't just automatically hit the form that you were in grand final week last year. You've got to build that back. You've got to work hard. You've got to defend ruthlessly and with real genuine intent to take the ball off the opposition, and then you've got to work hard to support each other and run and carry and use your teammates with some great offensive play. You've got to do the work. If you don't do that, anyone can beat you. And I tell you what, the Giants aren't just anyone. They are a very, very good football team. The Sydney Swans are also a good football team. Swans aren't as good as the Giants, though, Mick. So if Collingwood is sharp and on tonight, I think they can get a hold of the Swans.
Oh, I think they can get a hold of it. I'm going to throw some names at you, Lingy.
Yep.
So you watched the game?
Yep.
Okay, so Mason Cox?
Yes. I don't think he does much anyway.
Right. Okay, so you got
full stop, including last year.
Ash Johnson?
Ash Johnson, I cut him a bit of slack. He's hit and miss, but no.
He's a forward, so that's been lenient.
He started already, Mick.
Yep.
Well,
keep going, Mick.
Forward to the centre, they're any place to get into trouble. Believe me, if a football club could just run from mid-back, you know what? They wouldn't have to have anyone near as many people employed at a football club.
Actually, I was trying to get my head into Footy World driving in. I was thinking, when was the last team that went 0-2 defending a premiership? And I thought of last year, and there was the Cats. They went 0-3, remember, to start.
They did too.
Yeah.
Hoskin Elliott?
Well, I think Hoskin Elliott was one who needed to be reminded that you can't just cruise through a game of AFL football.
Okay, this bloke here, we know his mind is always in a job, but his first half, Scotty Pendlebury.
Oh, yeah, that's as scrappy and off as I've seen Scotty in a long time, but I'm not going to say too many negative words about him.
Does he fit into the Collingwood? I know his tackles were up. His tackles were right up.
Yeah,
so that's what they want him for.
But I think that'll take just a little while, but till he fully understands his running patterns. And so, yeah, I don't think he was great last week.
And Jamie Elliott, I'm reasonably throwing a few of these names in.
Yep.
You've got 8 blokes over 30. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because I don't think it's an ageist society. It shouldn't be. But the interesting thing is here, have they achieved, and now that, because we can't measure hunger.
Yep.
So all those names you name are those who needed that little bit of a gentle reminder, and they would have got it during the week.
Well, one of them was Mitchell, and he got the big reminder.
The comp is trending older. Since World War II, the 2 oldest premiership teams we've seen in the game have been the last 2 years. So Geelong the oldest, Collingwood the second oldest since World War II in the last 70 years or whatever, 80 years. The last time these two teams met was round 8 last year. It was the game in which the Collingwood fans booed Lance Franklin, and that was the controversial talking point coming out of it. Sydney took over 100 marks in 3 quarters of footy, and they just couldn't move the ball against Collingwood and ultimately lost that game by 28 points. Tim Hodges is in the front row again for us tonight and right throughout the season with our Friday night crew here on Grandstand AFL. Hodgie, it's great to have you with us again.
Hi, Corbin. Hi, team. Nice to be invited back to sit on the boundary. I do love it. Dane Rampy with the winning toss tonight. The Swans will start kicking to the punt road end. That's the left of the television screen if you're home watching, listening to us. It is the most spectacular night for football. A top of 29 in Melbourne today. It's still a simply perfect 24 degrees. The field is such a big talking point. I can't believe how good it is 3 weeks on from the Taylor Swift extravaganza. I know it did get slippery late last night when the dew arrived, but the condition, it just looks perfect. The crowd is an absolute monster. The MCC confident they'll top last night's 83,000 for the Tigers and the Blues. They're expecting a crowd around 85 to 87,000 people, so it is just going to be the most wonderful atmosphere. Repeating, no late changes. Teams as selected. The subs for the Pies, Finn McRae. For the Swans, it's Sam Wicks. It's just going to be a brilliant night of the football. It's nice to be back for the first Friday night at the G this year.
The final series last year, there were 5 games at the G. They were decided by 7 points, 6, 2, 1, 4. And it was 5 points last night. Collingwood trying to get away in their premiership defence against Brodie Grundy and his new mates at the Swans, trying to pick up in 2024 what he missed out on last year. It's Collingwood and Sydney, the first Friday night at the G in 2024 on Grandstand AFL. You're with Kelly Underwood.
And the bounce is perfect. Grundy against his old teammates in Cameron. It's tapped down now, again it goes. Getting involved was Warner. Little handball comes to Chris. Going through, smothered by Heaney, goes back to Pendlebury, still inside the circle. Cameron had it, lost it. Rowbottom picks it up. Awkward little kick and up and under was touched. Play on. Kleiner grabs it and he's tackled as soon as he grabs it.
Hell, what's that?
Holds his chest.
Scotty Pendlebury's had 2 touches, both as clean as a whistle.
Yeah.
Just reminding everyone, last week was an anomaly.
The centre circle. Grundy gets it down to Heaney. He's gang tackled. So Papley started in the centre. And De Goey alongside Heaney. Blockbuster matchups in the midfield.
This is Sydney. Love this sort of scrap and heavy numbers.
Cameron just dabs it to Papley, who's tackled Warner rather. And he's tackled by De Goey. And Lipinski getting involved as well. Stoppage to stoppage. Grundy, little toe poke. De Goey goes to ground. And again, the Swans just suffocating Collingwood. No free, clean ball at the moment.
Jack Crisp taking Isaac Heaney's body around stoppages, but he's going to get it here.
Grundy feeds Heaney, breaks away out of the centre square, kicks to it, Marty, hands to it, no mark. Clever work there from Hayward, somehow kept the ball in front of him, kicked to right to the goal line and the boot thrown at it, but offline. And after that tumbling kick in from McDonald, Hayward unable to soccer it through, so it rolls through for a minor score. First score of the night is Sydney behind, 90 seconds in.
And the Pies are quick on the kick in through Howard to Goey, and now it comes to Crisp, who goes down the line, Maynard rather, to get it to the wing, right in front of the interchange gates. And it's the Swans who are able to steal it. A couple of quick kicks. McInerney out in front of Logan McDonald. He marks on his chest. He got a little bit of separation on his direct opponent in Darcy Moore, and he's taken the mark well within range. He'll kick just outside 50.
So that's Darcy Moore again. Darcy gets a lot of goals kicked on him. He covers the corridor in anticipation where the ball's going to go, and his man is secondary. When he's at his best, his man is primary, and then he focuses on the ball.
It is an opportunity now. Logan McDonald, nobody Franklin in 2024, right on 50. It's a 45-degree angle, and it's offline to the punt road end where the Swans cheer squad are crammed in behind the goals. And it'll be a kick in again for Jeremy Howe for the Pies.
Too close to the man of mark, Liggy. Far too close.
And lost his run-up because of it.
Yeah.
This last week, Jeremy Howe back from that corked calf. He comes wide to Dean, who kicks down the line. Hands on from Cameron, no marks. Goes through to Cunningham of the Swans. Hand pass to Lloyd, gives it to Melican. Short kick's a good one, and he's Hayward. And marks in front of the Sydney interchange. No late change coming in. Wicks and Finn McRae, the 2 subs. As Hayward goes back to the logo for Melican. as he looks to centre half forward. Kicks for the Swans, trying to find Grundy. Jared Mark, Jack Crisp takes the intercept at centre half back. The AFL's Iron Man.
And they want to go through the centre. The handball received by Howie. Shanks the kick. Somehow they get it. Maynard's getting involved. He gets the handball, but it's a turnover for the Swans. Right in the bullseye. It's Hayward that gets it. Off to Heaney. Sidesteps one, then another, and delivers beautifully to Logan McDonald. He's got no opponent near him. He just wedges the kick over the top. And Robbie Fox has taken an uncontested mark about 10 metres in from the boundary line. He's going to kick towards the punt road end. His eyes are darting. He doesn't want to back himself in. He'll have the distance. It's just a question of accuracy.
So right now, Collingwood are trying to bite off all this really highly skilled stuff. Players are running the position. The turnover is just catching them out.
Robbie Fox, he spots something right at the topper. He centres it, in fact, and it was picked off by Jordan De Goey. Like a cat, he pounced on it. He was all over it. He read Robbie Fox's eyes.
Yeah, and that's not a good choice by Fox. 35 metres out shot on goal. If you can't find someone who's totally clear, which he wasn't, then then it's up to you. You've got to take responsibility.
Yeah. De Goey's kick went out of bounds, not on the full, so it's a boundary throw-in.
Grundy spills it from the throw-in, comes down to Cameron. He too can't handle it. Grundy drags it back in on his knees, could be in trouble, trying to stand up with the footy, and Cameron wrestles it from him. So we got Darcy Cameron, a former Sydney ruckman, against Brodie Grundy, the former Collingwood ruckman. Now in different colours. They swap the red for the black. From the restart, comes down Sydney's way. Patley got a hand pass away to Warner. As his hand pass over his shoulder finds Roberts, the lefty on his preferred side. Thumps it inside the attacking arc for Sydney. Big fist from Howe at the back. Spills down to McDonald to the Swans. Hand pass to Patley. Through trouble. Caught by Nick Dacos. Somehow got a kick away. Off hands. Comes down to side bottom. He's caught by Fox. He's caught holding the ball.
Yeah, had prior opportunity. Great call, Corbs.
Robbie Fox has this for his new role. Former defender who played a really good game in a side that was well beaten in the grand final 2 years ago. And now he's the negator inside the 450 to play on the opposition's interceptor.
Yeah, nearly every side is going to have one of those at the end of the year.
Left half forward, kicks from just inside 50. The goal kicking needs some work. Lands short, and Marty flies for it. Couldn't mark, and in the end it's tapped through by Darcy Moore.
So that's why he didn't have a shot on the other side.
Yes.
Can't kick for goal.
Need to, that's a little RFI for Robbie Fox, but he's involved early. First 3 scores of the game, all Sydney behind, 6 minutes in.
Pretty quiet start for 80,000 plus in the house. Sydney with 28 disposals, Collingwood 14. That probably explains why.
And no inside 50s.
Yeah. So the skipper Moore to himself and then delivers long, and again it's chopped off, this time by Melican. Retreats backwards, side of the square. The centre square as Heaney's got it, uncontested. Pendlebury manning the mark, stabs the pass, able to pick out a teammate with ease, and that's Warner. Warner with touch number 4. The kick couldn't hit up the target. Side bottom comes in. Fox read it well. He goes the soccer off the ground and misses everything. Quainer tackled to the turf. Sydney all over them at the moment. And these Pies can't breathe. Every time they touch the Sherrin, they are grabbed by a Swans player. Ball up, 30 metres out, directly in front of the Swans goal at the punt road end. Amadi was in the ruck, and then Amadi pounces on it, and they pounce on him. And we'll go again. Gee, it's a stoppage, stop, and start to this contest.
And 6 inside 50s to the Swans, as Mick said, 0 to the Pies.
Pies haven't been in their front half as Cameron wins it down. Nick Dacos receives a slick hand pass from Pendlebury, dishes one off to side bottom. His hand pass stolen. Warner away to it, steals it, drills it. Warner kicks the first of the night. Praying on the error from the hand pass. And Chad Warner away to it, slams through the opening goal. Sydney 1-3-9, Collingwood flat-footed, yet to score. 7.5 minutes in on Grandstand AFL. Cameron Lang and Nick Moldhouse.
That is unbelievable discipline and awareness by Chad Warner.
Absolutely.
He knew that Nick Dacos was going to be used there because that's what Collingwood does. Any chance they get to handball the ball to Nick Dacos, they do it.
Yeah.
Quite rightly sometimes, but that was obvious, and Warner read it beautifully. And then the class finish, Mick. That was brilliant.
It certainly was. There comes a time when you're a very good football side, when you're a poor football side, I've seen it before where you just keep looking for that one player. Collingwood are better than that. They don't. Nick Dacos is better than that. For Steele Sidebottom to give that hand pass, he doesn't need to do that. And it's cost him the goal. Let him work. I'm sure he could work himself into those positions.
Swans 9, Pies 0. Breaking away from the centre, Degoe with the little handball to Nick Dacos. Kicks sideways to his brother who's on the wing, the southern wing, Josh Dacos. He's able to hit up Bobby Hill on a lead. Been to the hairdresser this week, Bobby Hill. He's got a shock blonde hair, dyed it blonde. Will it affect the game? His kick couldn't hit a target. Now McCartan's got it. Handball's back under pressure, Blakey. Usually good, takes off. His kick's gone straight to Dacos, Josh Dacos, who was then tackled too high. And coming in was Bobby Hill, just to remonstrate. It was McInerney that grabbed Nick Dacos too high in the tackle. And Nick Dacos with the free. Short, sharp kick, barely 15 to Degoe. Touch number 4 for Degoe. Right on the 50, he's able to pinpoint Nick Dacos. And now Nick is pointing to say, where's the man on the mark stand? Because I might back myself in from 55 out.
Yeah, and this is ridiculous.
Who is umpiring?
So he's gone back from within the square, Nick Dacos, and he's launched an absolute monster. Self-belief for the third-year player. Third in the Brownlow last year, All-Australian, a premiership player, and the confidence is brimming back at home on the G. First goal of the night for the Pies, 1 straight 6. The Swans, 1-3-9.
That's ridiculous.
You're saying the same as what I've said.
So Nick Dacos took the mark. I'm going to call
55.
Yeah, 56 metres out. The Swans player was not allowed to come up to the mark. He had to stand.
Only because Dacos pointed, the umpire fell for it.
And said, yeah,
You've got 3
stand
metres.
there.
You've got 3 metres.
And he gained himself the extra 3 metres. And that's the difference of making the distance
Yeah,
there.
no, it's not on. That is very, very poorly administered.
The player on the mark, if they're doing it immediately, is allowed to go and stand where the mark was taken.
Yeah,
full stop.
Yeah.
Restart back in the middle. Collingwood their first of the night. Swans by 3. Cox down to Nick Dacos. Hand pass to Degoe. Flares it wide. Wants Bobby Hill. Fist from the back from Cunningham. Sits up for Hoskin Elliott at Collingwood. Kicks down the line. And Roberts, double fister, just bangs it back 8 rows. We'll have a boundary throw in. 70 out for the Magpies goal.
Well, it's interesting. 36 possessions now to 32. That was 36 to about 20 before. So the Pies have got back. And it's amazing what centre bouncers do. They bring you back into the game if you can get it out. Degoe, really strong.
Grundy first to the footy, grabs it out of the ruck, coughs it up, hand pass to Lipinski. He dishes it off to Cox, away to Nick Dacos, who's involved early, draws the player, hand pass to Lipinski, tight angle, kicks the Pies to the top of the goal square. 2 Swans spoil each other. Bobby Hill, awake to it in the drop, bangs it through. It's his ground, Bobby Hill, the Norm Smith medalist, who owned this on the last day of September. And Collingwood are in front for the first time tonight. 2 in a hurry. The Pies 2 straight. Sydney 1-3, 12 minutes in.
Yeah, twice in, 2 goals.
Yeah.
Just brilliantly crumbed. There was a bit of miscommunication with the Sydney players, whether take the mark or go the big punch.
Yeah, it was Braden Campbell and I think, was it Tom McCartan, the other one? Yeah, it was. And Bobby Hill, just where every good small forward should be, at the drop. Great finish.
Lipinski's kick was a good one, straight to the top of the square, which puts real pressure on the back line. You're either, in this case, so that should have been, well, it was attempted mark, and his teammate took it out of his hands.
There was Campbell and McCartan just spoiled each other, and Bobby Hill, it's his bread and butter from there.
Collingwood by 3 points. It's Cox and Grundy that tussle. Rowbottom had it. He's lost it. He's tackled by Cox. Again, the pile of players. The umpire picks out a holding, and it will go against Nick Dacos. Taking the free is Jordan, the former D's player, short to Goulden. Socks down, aqua blue boots on. Goulden, Errol stabs the pass really low and is able to hit up Heaney. Beautiful pass inside 50, and Isaac will go back and have a shot.
He's a superb footballer, Goulden. That is a beautiful kick. They've taken their time. I reckon they missed a couple of opportunities, this one's to go quicker forward. So Collingwood have got numbers back, but his elite skills still found Isaac Heaney with enough space. Superb kick.
We've got 3rd and 4th in the Brownlow from last night. Lingy running around tonight. Nick Dacos and Errol Goulden. But right now, it is Heaney as he crosses the arc of 50 from a 45-degree angle. He's offline. And missing just. Collingwood by 2 points. 2 straight 12, Sydney 1-4-10.
So they're the things that let him down last year, Isaac Heaney. So this will be the test. He only have to just miss to be it for a point, but he's just missed. And that's the difference between a good player and a very, very good player.
Short kicking game out of the defensive arc for Collingwood as Markov hits up Maynard. Left half back, one of 19 Collingwood premiership players out there. Schultz, McRae, Johnson and Dean are 4 new faces. As Maynard goes long down the wing, Grundy puts his fist through it, pack forms on the logo, and Jack Crisp is locked up. And the 4 that aren't there, Murphy, Frampton, Mitchell, and of course Jack Ginnivan makes his club debut for the Hawks here tomorrow afternoon.
Ball up on the southern wing. Pendlebury just gets a kick away while he was being tackled. The up and unders picked off by Cunningham. Defensive side of the outer wing, right in front of that Shane Warne stand, packed with black and white fans. Stabs the pass. McCartan, short. Oh, he put Gordon under the pump then. He had to beat a couple, and he did. He reached up really high.
We've gone halfway through the quarter, and 5 Collingwood forwards have not touched the ball.
Gordon goes long to the big boys. The rucks there. Mason Cox flew. It's tapped down by Howe to the advantage of Lloyd. Right on 50. He curls it back. Campbell's there in a one-on-one with Still Sidebottom. Sidebottom punches it away. Heaney went without it. Campbell gets down low. He spills it. It comes out, and then again a pile-up, a tangle of arms and legs. This time 20 metres out from the goal for the Swans. And it'll be another ball up, another stoppage.
Up it goes. Cox and McLean to do the ruck work. McLean, the more telling touch, back to the top of the goal square. Maynard retreating, hangs it inside.
You can't take it through now.
He was given the benefit of the doubt from the umpire. He hovered the ball inside the behind line, Lingy, and then backed over the middle of the goal line.
He waited for the pressure to come to define deliberate.
That doesn't matter because when you've had an opportunity to dispose of the ball, you still can't, even if under pressure.
Good mark. Not quite paid. Yes, it has been paid to Melican, so...
Yes, spot on, Lingy. Yeah. That's the rule.
Behind, by the way, Sydney 1-5, Collingwood 2 straight, so Pies by a point. 15 and a half minutes into the opening term, but Sydney have had more of the play.
Collingwood only worked it up to right in front of the interchange gates where Melican's able to take the mark with the turnover. Gives it off to Blakey, goes long. Cox! Mason Cox, deep down in defence. In front of 3 or 4 players, comes in from the side and takes a wonderful strong mark right at the tip of his jump.
He's going to reach like a sick dog, so he should take that.
Cox kicks down the line, and that's a free against the Pies. Not liking it was Myercheck. Gives it away to Blakey. You hear the replay on the giant screen here at the G, and the Pies fans aren't happy. Blakey's got it at left half forward. Goes to the hot spot. They all flying. Cox has done it again. It's an instant replay.
But it's just not smart, Kel, by Blakey. Cox is down there. He's positioning. He's just kicking it up for kick-to-kick in the schoolyard.
Hands it to Dean. He gives it to Howe. Exits defensive 50. Bobby Hill turns Roberts inside out, but the ball beats him out of play.
It's like the Year 12's gone down to play with the Year 7s, and you're just popping it up on his head.
Yeah, that's a lesson there for young Roberts too. You don't get turned like that. You're better off letting Hill lead to the ball and get in behind him. He got turned very, very quickly. That ball was lucky it went out of bounds.
I think it's fair to say that's not Bobby Hill's natural hair colour. He's got the peroxide blonde look going from the boundary throwing. Grundy knocks it back out of play.
Did you ever have a problem with that, Mick, when you were coaching?
If they can get a kick, I didn't. They didn't get a kick, let me tell you.
Bobby had plenty of those on grand final day last year. That
Carl Lang
Smith medalist. Yes.
Did you remember Carl Lang?
I reckon Dale Thomas might have had a couple of little tips through.
Both of them contributed.
Boundary throwing. Grundy puts his hands right in the number of Mason Cox, and the umpire on the spot says that's in the back. Free kick for Mason Cox, who's having a little purple patch here. Couple of intercept marks in D50, and now wins are free on halfway. Hand pass away to Maynard. Kicks inside 50, and Melican read it best. Standing to the back marks. Dangerous kick. Centering ball, and McCreary plucks it. Brilliant. Oh, that wasn't good.
Well, brilliant by Bo McCreary, though, because he just read that. He was the deeper forward and knew exactly where that kick was going.
Yeah, but the player with the football, there is such a thing as using both eyes and neck just to twist a little bit and just have a look from goal square on that 180 degrees. He looked directly there and he had the blinkers on.
Yeah, that telegraphed it, didn't he?
Oh, my God.
Bo McCreary, after the intercept mark to make Sydney pay, the drop punt hits the post. The exhale from the Collingwood fans, the Magpie Army. Collingwood 2-1-13, Sydney 1-5-11. We've travelled 18 minutes into the opening term on Grandstand AFL through ABC Sport.
Great kick.
From the city, and Nick Blakey. Well, that would have gone 60-odd metres, and it's landed right in the lap of Will Hayward, right on the spot. He didn't need to move. He squares the kick to McLean. Now the switch is on. He goes wide to McCartan, who juggles it. He's on the defensive side of that southern wing. Couldn't quite hear Goulden. It was a wonderful spoil in the end by the former Dockers player. In fact, it was my check rather, and now Rowbottom's got it.
Both sides are really playing. It's
careful.
Well,
with their boys.
It's yeah, I reckon careful, but also careful in one way, but a little bit giving off opportunities.
Short to Cunningham. He goes along to a pack of players. Lloyd's there. Gets the handball. Gives it to Goulden. The underground handball. Comes to Jordan. To Fox. To Rowbottom. All by hand. Now Chad Warner tries to get around about 6 Magpies. He was surrounded. Handballs to no one. Just to the grass, in fact. Roberts is there. He got a push in the back. Umpire says no. Pendlebury picks it up. Handballs off to Myercheck. Off to the run of Nick Dacos. He's creative. He's a wonderful decision maker. He puts it out in front of Ash Johnson. Ash Johnson in a one-on-one right up against the boundary line in the corner of that pocket. And McCartan does really well. And it goes over the boundary line. It'll be a boundary throw-in because the Pies were away when Nick Dacos had it through the centre of the ground.
Yeah, I don't often say this about Nick Dacos. He made the wrong decision. If they'd kept handballing it, they would have run that to 40. Easy goal, but tried the kick and missed it.
Forward 50 stoppage for Collingwood. Boundary throw-in. Both rucks miss it. DeGoey outside of the right boot. Bends it through. Jordan DeGoey with a gift. A ruckman underneath it. DeGoey in the prime spot. And he's not letting that opportunity slip. Collingwood out by 8. The Magpies 3-1-19. Sydney 1-5-11. Collingwood, as we tick into time on in the opening term, with their biggest lead of the night.
Lingy, mistakes. Every Collingwood goal, I'm not saying that Collingwood haven't earned them, but it's been a mistake by Sydney 1 or 2 possessions prior. Even that setup there was quite dreadful for a boundary throw-in inside your back 50, because you cannot afford to leave anything at the back. If you're going to leave anything, it may well be that he kicks a miraculous goal from the boundary, but not certainly in the corridor.
No, and identifying the corridor as a dangerous space and who are the dangerous players.
Yeah.
You don't want Jordan DeGoey getting the ball in there, and brilliant finish. I mean, outstanding by Jordan DeGoey, but don't leave him free in the corridor.
6 minutes to go in this opening term. 1-5 Sydney to 3-1 Collingwood. The umpires picked out a free in the centre of the ground, and it's going to Darcy Cameron against McLean in the ruck.
So I can't work that out. When a ruckman stands and the other ruckman tries to jump over him,
Cameron goes short to Markov, to DeGoey, who's got it in the bullseye and is usually deadly. He flicks it out wide. Oh, wonderful steal. Coming in was Rowbottom. Flicks it out into a paddock. Runs onto it. Has a bounce. Gathers it. Picks it up. Turns around. Bombs it long. McDonald drops a chest mark in the end. His teammate Hayward was coming back and made it really difficult for him, and it bounced off his chest. And now it's quickly worked its way out to Campbell and Sidebottom. Campbell goes to ground. Sidebottom doesn't. He flicks it under the pump, and he flicks it over the boundary line. It'll be a boundary throw-in.
Oh, free kick for the hold. Cal, just grabbed it. Steele Sidebottom's jumper. Oh, dear. Just saw the replay. Logan McDonald. You're the big guy. You're the key position player. I know your teammate Will Hayward's got in your way, but you just stand up and mark those. Out in the hands.
Sidebottom then has the kick from half-back. He used Nick Dacos, and then he's kicked it into the centre of the ground, and Markov decided to take off. I don't know why, but he's been caught by one of the best tacklers in the game in Rowbottom, and Rowbottom's going to be rewarded with a free kick directly in front, 40 metres out. And listen to the Pies fans.
Did he play? I don't think he played on.
I think as soon as he took the mark, he stepped sideways, and that was what Craig Fleer was saying, that instead of going straight back, he started to go east-west.
Yeah, well, he's actually waved his hand, so he's listening to what the umpire said, but I've seen worse.
James Rowbottom. Couple of behinds last week to open his account for 2024, directly in front, and he's missed. Hence the cheers, the Bronx cheers from those Pies fans. 1-6 Sydney. 1-6-12. Collingwood 3-1-19. The Pies by 7.
Howe comes wide and Grundy punches it out of play. The inside 50 count, 13-4. That's Sydney 13, Collingwood 4. And yet it's Collingwood who lead at 3-1 over Sydney 1-6. That is a 7-point advantage for the Pies.
And a real gettable ones for the Swans. Simple set shots.
Time on opening turn, boundary throw-in, free kick. The ruck contest, and Grundy had his jumper tugged. The former Magpie, former Demon, at his third club in 3 years, kicks inside 50, and Marty has the hang time, went early and managed to levitate up there and somehow take the ball on his way back to earth.
Oh, well, let me just say right now that Charlie Dean just looked at him and didn't put any body pressure on him whatsoever. We'll look from the shot from here, but just almost fly, do what you like. Hopefully you drop it. There's no pressure.
In ideal real estate as well, 25 out straight in front. Amati, no problems. Bangs it through. Draws Sydney within 1. The Swans 2-6-18. Collingwood 3-1-19. The reigning premiers by a point. ABC Sport, Cameron Lang and Mick Malthouse, 24-goal opening turn.
Well, you saw that, Ling. You just might want to explain it to the...
Well, no, I thought you explained it pretty well. Amati had the run of the ball, and he was the obvious key forward target, and he was on the move. Dean was responsible for him, and it was more a case of Dean just hoping that Darcy Moore was going to help him out.
Yeah, I think so.
It was like, could you please get there, Darcy, because I don't actually want to make physical contact. So Dean will have to learn from that and understand that when he's your responsibility, he's your opponent, you've got to get the body contact. You've got to fly with him if he's going to fly. And then if your teammate comes and helps as well, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
But Dean just left him easy mark. Nice goal.
Beautiful tap by Daisy Cameron, straight down the throat of Nick Dacos. He wheels around and puts it out in front of Bobby Hill. Hill's got it on the southern side. He's got Josh Dacos running by on his left. Puts it inside 50. Myercheck with the leap. In fact, it was Johnson rather. Leapt up but couldn't grab it in the end. And it looked like it was going to be textbook footy right from the ruck contest at the start. The replay of Ash Johnson into the back of Melican couldn't quite take the mark. So it'll be a ball up now in that left forward pocket. Grundy into space. Plenty of players around this. Warner picks it up, gives it off to Roberts, the rising star from the opening round. A high up and under, lands on the edge of the centre square. Off hands, Quaynall's got it. He gets it to Crisp, couldn't take it cleanly. Nick Dacos is in there fighting hard. It comes back to Rowbottom. Heaney, handballs out of space, straight to Howe. Howe, his handball was smothered. Well done by McLean. Good pressure. And then tumbles the kick out wide. It should sit here for Papley. Gets it on the bounce. Spears the kick. Couldn't mark it. Was Gould. And it's a hot footy all on the southern side. Now Nick Dacos. Sweeping handball was very good. He's got Hoskin Elliott in two minds. Gives it to Bobby Hill. Beautiful delivery to Maynard, who's still got it on that southern side wing.
Maynard shifts across the ground to Howe. Marks outer edge of the centre square. 26.5 gone opening turn. Pies by 1. Kicks inside 50. Not a great kick. And Roberts takes the intercept mark.
So the Swans have got one forward. Hayden McLean has just ducked out. They're not going to see him long. Now Jeremy Howe's going to get across and cover him.
Mentioned Roberts, a Rising Star winner. Did an interview on AFL 360 during the week. Was asked if his dad was coming to the G to watch him play. He said he won't be because he's got his lawn bowls finals this week. So it's a good reason to miss.
Well, good luck, Mr. Roberts.
Footy's coming back. Collingwood have got the ball through Quaynall. And Marks on the outer wing, goes short to Markov, and Markov chips it back out wide. Hoskin Elliott takes the mark southern side. As we tick towards quarter time, Collingwood by 1.
Yeah, a minute and a half to go. So the Swans kick the first, then the Pies the next 3. And the Swans with the last. Collingwood by a point. Collingwood just sharing it around across the half-back line. And now meeting it on the bounce is still side bottom. He's got a paddock in front of the interchange gates. He takes one bounce. He takes two bounces. He delivers a floater in the direction of Nick Dacos, who couldn't control it. Robbie Fox does. Wheels around. Awkward kick. Blakey with a clever tap to Heaney. He can't control it. Nick Dacos is there again. Dodging, weaving, zigging, zagging, and then the kick over the top of Ash Johnson. He meets it though and he's collected high. Does he win a free kick? The umpire says no.
Says no, he ducked.
He ducked into that.
Yep.
Yeah, he did duck. He dropped his knees.
Fair call. That's brilliant.
It would have to be Brett Roseberry. Yes, he's out there.
Yep, and it was Melican that tackled. So a ball up charging through. It was Jamie Elliott trying to win it off the hands of Darcy Cameron and Grundy, but he couldn't. He ran into a brick wall, so we'll go again with the ball up. Same spot, 20 metres out from the Pies goal.
That was superb umpiring.
Well,
Grundy.
I think he's got the record, hasn't he?
Into the pocket. Florin. Defensively, one side to the other. Matt Roberts can't control it. It goes over the boundary line. Let's get down to Timmy Hodges.
Kel, it's still 23 degrees, just gone 8 o'clock. I will say the wind has really picked up, which you can sort of see with the skills of late, and unbelievably swirly down at boundary level. So very similar conditions to last night's Tigers-Blues game.
Thanks, Hodgie. 25th year, by the way, Mick, for Brett Rosebery.
Yeah, he's a champion umpire. Great bloke too.
Still at it from the boundary throwing. Grundy palms it down. Roberts, hand pass to McInerney, gets out of the defensive arc. Hand pass to Heaney, kicks to Amati, who marks defensive side of the wing, southern side. Pies by a point. Amati, high up and under, drop pump down to half forward. McLean crashes the pack. Spits around like a pinball at ground level. Nick Dacos, hand pass, turnover. Lloyd had it, gave it to Phillips. He was tackled, dispossessed, and the umpire says that's holding the ball. Is there a chance for Collingwood late? Markov to Myercheck. Carries over his head, and time beats all of them. So it's quarter time, and Collingwood 3-1-19. Perhaps a little fortunate to be in front. They lead Sydney 2-6-18. Twice as many scoring shots for the Swans, and twice as many inside 50s, 14-7 at quarter time. So Collingwood carry a 1-point lead into the first break. The Magpies by 1. The goal kickers, Jordan De Goey, Bobby Hill and Nick Dacos kicked a long-range goal. Collingwood kicking all 3 of theirs back-to-back. While for Sydney, Chad Warner kicked the first of the night and Joel Amati the last in the game. The thoughts of Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling coming up in a few moments' time. The SMS number is 0437 774 774 on ABC Sport right throughout the AFL season. Michael from Wyndham Vale, it's so good to have footy back at the G. I don't mind the opening round concept, but 4 games on opening weekend to start the season, no way, never again. So Michael, I think he's having a bit each way. Likes the opening round concept, but not the 4 games. Jackie in Adelaide, who's one of our most loyal listeners. Welcome back to the best Friday night crew ever. Look forward to the jumper descriptions. The chocolate is ready to go. Jackie loves eating her chocolate, listening to ABC Radio. What better way to do it on a Friday night? Kelly and Corbin, Lingy and Mick, the best informed and best balanced team on the radio. Welcome back from Brian in Fitzroy. Oh, we like those text messages.
Yes, we do. Keep those coming.
Yes, we like the positive ones. 0437 774 774. Early season, Mick, we need a little bit of motivation, a little bit of positive reinforcement is what I'm looking for. The thoughts of Mick and Lingy coming up in just a moment. This is ABC Sport. It's quarter time. Collingwood by 1.
This Thursday night kicks off a big weekend of footy. And you can listen big on the ABC Listen app. AFL, NRL. And ABC Sport brings you the match between the Socceroos and Lebanon.
Good ball into the box, laid off the chest nicely. Jamie McLaren's there for the hat-trick.
The World Cup qualifier, Australia and Lebanon.
Ryan Grant heads across goal. Jamie McLaren hits it in.
Hear it live Thursday night on the ABC Listen app. This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL season. Every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Pepperberry dishes one off the side bottom. Oh, his headbutt stolen. Warner away to it. Steals it. Drills it. Warner kicks the first of the night. Praying on the error from the hand pass. And Chad Warner away to it. Slams through the opening goal.
So he's gone back from within the square, Nick Dacos, and he's launched an absolute monster.
He dishes it off to Cox, away to Nick Dacos, who's involved early. Draws the player, hand pass to Lipinski, tight angle. Kicks the Pies to the top of the goal square. 2 Swans spoiling cover. Bobby Hill, away to it at the drop. Bangs it through. Forward 50 stoppage for Collingwood. Boundary throw in both rucks. Miss it to going. Outside of the right foot. Bangs it through.
Every Collingwood goal, I'm not saying that Collingwood haven't earned them, but it's been a mistake by Sydney 1 or 2 possessions prior. Even that setup there was quite dreadful for a boundary throw-in.
In ideal real estate as well, 25 out straight in front. Amati, no problems. Bangs it through. Draws Sydney within 1.
The 2024 AFL Premiership season.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
Quarter time at the G. Corbin Middlemass, Kelly Underwood, Tim Hodges, Cameron Ling and Mick Malthouse. Collingwood by a point. The reigning defending premiers who unfurled their premiership flag earlier tonight with Peter Moore involved in that, who was their Cup ambassador on the day, and Jeff Brown, of course, the president, presented with the Premiership flag. It's all about the here and now, though. 1 quarter in the books. Their second game of the season. It's round 1, though. Continues on Grandstand AFL. Cameron Ling, Mick Malthouse.
Collingwood have the lead, Mick. And there were signs of better play, but I don't think Craig McRae heading to the quarter-time huddle would be entirely happy, because the Swans had lots of good opportunities. What the inside 50s ended up 14-7.
Yeah.
And just simply through some bad set-shot goal kicking, the Swans could have comfortably been in front. It was almost at times like Collingwood wanted to get the perfect play, an extra handball, and nail that beautiful kick. And if it had worked out, yes, they were open and away they go. But the Swans created the turnover. Collingwood players then were a little bit out of position, and the Swans caught them out a few times. And as I said, except for bad set-shot goal kicking, could have been comfortably in front.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Lingy, these stats, HR, I'm assuming, is handball received.
Yes.
And I'm just looking at Nick Dacos as a sort of player. He's had 11. He's had the most in the competition on the ground. And so I'm looking at him as a third-year player now, and I looked at last year, and he was a good player coming off his first year into a second year. His second year last year, wasn't it? Yes. So earned a lot of his own ball, this sort of stuff. And yes, you've got to get the ball into the hands of those that can use the football, i.e. he himself, Pendlebury, Goey,
Jack Crisp.
Yeah, players that can use the football, Josh Dacos, this sort of stuff. But I'm starting to see a pattern that is when a very good footballer demands the football wherever he is and gets the football and then has to make something happen, otherwise it's been a wasted possession. I'm seeing, that's why I asked you about the HR. You know, I knew it was handball receive, just for the he's had 11 possessions, 5 handball receives, probably marked the ball twice from the little ones that would have been given to him as well. I think Nick Dacos is a better player when he has to earn a fair bit of it himself, and Collingwood are a better side when they spread the ball around and not worried about who's going to get the football. So I just hope this is not a pattern for the rest of the year and nor his career, because it doesn't help.
There's a fine balance, isn't there? Because
Absolutely.
when you're getting that handball received because you've run and broken the lines and you're going to run 10 and either kick a goal or deliver it inside forward 50, fantastic.
Yes.
Handball receives are brilliant. But when you're ducking around the back and getting a little one and you're running towards the boundary and you're under pressure because you've just demanded the footy, they're a handball receive you don't want the player getting. So balancing that is his challenge.
And Collingwood's challenge.
Yes, because the temptation is give it to him. He's so good.
Second quarter upon us, Collingwood by a point as Grundy wins it down. Warner passing through, hand pass back into dispute. Cameron in the end hands it out to Nick Dacos, gives it to Goey, kicks a barrel inside 50, hands to it, no mark for the Pies. Spills down Sydney's way. McCartan, clever handball, releases Rampy, dishes it off to Heaney. A forward hand pass finds Warner, works his way through trouble, tumbles a kick out wide. Fox collects right on halfway and slows the tempo down for Sydney. Hand pass to Warner, out wide to Lloyd, kicks to half forward, searching lead from McDonald, no mark. Dean for Collingwood. Hand pass to side bottom against the boundary line. He gives it to Quaynor, loops a hand pass out in front of Moore to run onto. Under pressure, hand pass too hot for Hill. Slides out of play in front of Tim Hodges. Hodgie.
It is right in front of me, Corbin. I just wanted to mention to the boys, Craig McRae was very animated. I saw the whiteboard. It said set up the field. It was written in red and it was underlined. Would that be going forward or would that be more going back during that first term?
I think as they're moving the ball forward, Hodgie, would be what they're setting up behind that in case of turnover, so that it's not just all attack with nothing behind it.
So Collingwood by a point, early stages of the second term. The boundary throw-in was right in front of Hodgie, and Pendlebury giving away a free kick to Heaney. So Heaney's got it. Right on the northern wing. Not much movement. He looks ahead, he drives it long. Grundy launched up over the top of Cameron, got his hands to it, and then it's fisted down by Hayward towards Papley. Doesn't need much time, throws it on the left, and it bounces through. Bounces through for a goal. Papley's first, and that will ignite the red and white. They're back in front, and they lead it by 5 points. A goal to the City end to start this second term.
Papley last year was a great player. Watched him last week. He was the go-to player. Anywhere he goes, he causes trouble because he's just got an innate ability to find the ball, find the goals, knows where the goals are, hard man to stop. All the things that you know that a great half forward, occasional midfielder has, he's got it.
He's the energy starter too, isn't he? I know you sometimes laugh at his celebrations, but it gets the teammates up and about. You're right. He just is always looking dangerous. Class finish that on the left. And it just gets his teammates revved up.
Yeah.
Swans 3-6-24, Collingwood 3-1-19.
Second lead change of the night. Swans back in front. To Goey, hand pass to Nick Dacos. Gives it to Pendlebury by hand out wide to side bottom. His fellow vet as he kicks into oncoming traffic. Spills down to Fox. He's dispossessed in the Quaynor tackle. Now the Pies through to Nick Dacos. Kicks wide. Bobby Hill spills it. Regathers. Rolls onto his right boot. Kicks it over the head of Myercheck. And McCartan back to mop up.
Well, that's better by Dacos. That's finding your own football, using the football. We know how good he is. I just like to see Nick do that more often.
Sydney by 5. McCartan with the contest kick down the wing, and Cameron just out-muscles Grundy to take the mark.
Outstanding by Cameron, you're right. Used his strength, knew where the drop of the ball was, and Grundy's a hard man to move. That's a big win.
Goes back to Moore, and Moore's going to swing it from one side of the centre square to the other. Charlie Dean marks, plays on by hand to Markov. Sweeping Polyfarmer hand pass away to Hoskin Elliott. Short kick to Josh Dacos. Gives it back to Hoskin Elliott. 70 out. Kicks inside 50. Myercheck running start, can't mark. Slips through to Cunningham. Hand pass looking for Rampy. It's out wide. McCreary brings the pressure and shoves Rampy out of play. No, he didn't.
Wow.
The umpire says play on, and so he drills a pass down the boundary line, and Warner takes it up against the boundary, left half back for Sydney. And that's not Warner, that's Hayward, by the way. Left
away from home. Defensive side of the wing. He drills it long, looking for a Marty. Off hands, here's Rowbottom. Good hands to Warner. Tackled, gets the kick away. Marking directly in front of goal is Papley. Could have gone back. Instead, he's going to bounce it towards Lloyd. Oh no, he had an eternity to pick it up in the goal square. Jake Lloyd with an absolute calamity. Maynard came from nowhere and wrapped him up. Lloyd had an eternity.
That's two sitters that really just absolutely butchered him. This quarter.
What a fumble. That is the definition of fumble, Mick.
Oh, it is. It is.
Capital F.
Oh, yeah, that is terrible. I mean, it's really terrible play. And look, I don't give any bonus to the kicker either. I mean, get off the mark and use the ball correctly. It was a terrible kick in, or take responsibility, kick the shot, kick the goal yourself.
It's one that goes begging. We've got a boundary throw in now between wing and half forward for the Swans. Kicking to the City end. Grundy palms it down. Goulden, hurried ball inside 50. G holds up. Oh, it hit the, there we go, it hit the spider cam or the flight cam on the way through. So that's why the ball changed its trajectory so far. So it makes contact with the camera above, and now Collingwood able to cash in on that. Rather than an inside 50, the Pies back the other way. Cox heads down to half forward. Hill trying to turn his opponent inside out. Collects, drilled in the Cunningham tackle. Umpire says, well, gee, Bobby Hill is almost in trouble. Ump says play on. Comes out the back door. Rampy away towards McCartan. Gives it to Florent. Quick hand pass to Warner. He's dacked in the tackle. Hand pass back inboard. Oh, two balls go out at Heaney and Lipinski. Lipinski wins the war. Hand pass out to Dean. His handball a turnover. Sydney back the other way as Fox soccers it to centre half forward.
It's a hot footy right now. And the foot race is on. Darcy Cameron gets there first. Over to Markov. Markov on the outside of his boot. Wasn't a great kick. It's stolen by McDonald. Gives it to Amati. He loses it. The umpire, no, he didn't blow his whistle. Play on. So Swans with the ball. Back to Goulden. Outside 50. Dodging left. Dodging right. And a great bounce. It comes to Rowbottom, who's got a snap from right on 50. And he snapped it through. Spears the goal. A low blow for the Pies. And it was a low laser off the right boot of Rowbottom. He's got his first. Swans out by 11, 4-6-30. Collingwood 3-1-19 after 6 minutes in the second term.
They had to work hard for that one. Great finish by Rowbottom. Can I rewind? Did that hit the camera?
Yep, so Tim Hodges is in our ear, said that hit the camera on the way through. So that ball was going deep inside 50, hit the camera, dropped short. Yeah. And in the end, Maynard had to scramble after it, and that's why the ball so dramatically changed trajectory.
Well, it was like a pinball machine, because that's obviously set the trigger, because every man, they all look like little pin men going around trying to get it, because how many players actually had the football, then didn't have the football, bounced out, got hit out? Oh, that's great pressure. Great pressure.
And at times, just a little bit of March 15 footy, didn't it?
The odds.
We've got a whole lot of season to go. Every step of the way right here on ABC Sport as the restart back in the middle. There's a free kick as Grundy's held out of it. And he's going to get another break for the Swans. A chance to jump on top here early in this second term. They already lead by a game high 11. Grundy short kick to Campbell. Logo member side. Straightens up. McInerney marks 55 out centre half forward. Heads into the pocket and Dean awake to it. Jumps in front of his direct opponent. McLean to take the intercept mark, and Charlie Dean left back pocket for the Magpies. They're under pressure at the moment. Swans by 11.
Well, Hayden McLean led to the pocket. In fact, he led to behind the point post. So I don't know how he expected to get the ball behind the point post. So that was a silly lead. That's why that kick couldn't find a target.
Charlie Dean, composure in his second game. He's able to find Darcy Cameron at half-back with a beautiful kick. He delivers. Couldn't quite hit up his teammate down there in Ash Johnson. At ground level, it's Nick Dacos swooping to side bottom. Side bottom crisp. Taken out of bounds, but the ball stayed in. Side bottom still goes. Breaks the tackle of Jordan. And then a little sidestep from Myercheck off to Quaynor. They've worked it to 55. Grubbers the kick, a tough one because of the pressure. McInerney fakes the handball, goes back inside. Off to Robbie Fox. They're running in waves, the Swans. It's going to sit out here for Jordan. Jordan, a one-on-one is Heaney inside 50 with Maynard. And Heaney, does he take the mark?
No, it's a free
the umpire
kick.
says it'll free. It was a push in the back from Maynard. It was one-on-one. They were the only two players inside 50, and Heaney will have a set shot in the right forward pocket at the city end.
That's a very, very good kick, that. Because that two players together, neither of them moving around. He had to kick the football to the advantage of his teammate, and he found a half yard or quarter a yard.
So Heaney is lining up with his right shoulder to the point post. He's going a set snap. 10 metres in from the boundary line. 1-2 steps on his left. He curls it and it hits the post. It's two behinds for Isaac Heaney tonight.
It's the next level of his game, isn't it?
Yeah, just that finishing. I mean, both of them being close. I was surprised he did a left foot because he was always going to lose a bit of distance.
Howe exit defensive 50. Cameron competes in the air, spills to side bottom. He's caught. Lost it. Heaney high half forward for the Swans. Hand pass to Cunningham. Gives it to Warner. Heads back inside 50 for the Swans. Out the back. Waiting. McDonald pops it through. And this lead swells for the Swans. Out to 3 goals. Sydney jump out on top. 5-7-37. Collingwood 3-1-19. And for all their dominance in that opening term, Sydney is starting to get some reward for it now on the scoreboard. 5-7-37, Collingwood 3-1-19. Swans by 18, 10 goal in second term.
And just good pressure again, created the turnover, and then a dangerous kick inside forward 50, and Logan McDonald made the most of it by being on the move. Really important for him. Stay on the move, even if you're not in the immediate contest, and he got the nice finish there. Just with Isaac Heaney, if he can turn himself into the type of player who's 20 to 25 touches a week and 2 goals a game,
oh well,
then he goes into that next bracket.
Yep.
He's a dangerous forward, or has been at different times in his career, but if he can be a mid-forward who can be involved in so much more but finish his work, that's his big jump.
Got the 9 coaches' votes last week, all Australian back in 2022, but last year just not quite up to his elite standard. As Lingy said, 50-50 midfield forward. Tossed up in the air by the umpire. Grundy palms it down. A hurried kick out of the centre. Does it sit here for Papley and Moore? Both go at it. Papley goes to ground. Umpire doesn't blow his whistle and the ball spills out the back. A hurried kick side bottom. Fisser sliding up to McCreery. Right up against the boundary line on the southern side of the MCG. Johnson launches backwards. Couldn't time the mark in the end. And Milliken's able to mop it up and kick backwards to the last line of defence where Cunningham marks. Cunningham rather uncontested, and then he spears it into the other back pocket. Braden Campbell's got it. He goes along down the line. Big fly from Howell. He got right up high. Heaney reads it off him. He was tackled and it affects the kick. And as a result, it goes straight down the throat of Quaynor, who's got it on the northern wing.
New 5-year deal for him as well. That's not his best kick, and Hoskin Elliott improvises, soccers up into the front half. Sydney pick it off through Rampy. Hand pass away to Jordan. The new Swan, former Demon. Hand pass to Warner. Heard the footsteps. Tried to shrug the McCreary tackle. Got it out to Heaney on the wing. Hand pass to Campbell, who's off and moving. Back onto his left peg. There's a Swan free in the goal square. It's McDonald again. Another goal coming up. Make it 5 in a row for the Bloods. And all of a sudden, Sydney are running all over the top of the reigning premiers. Sydney 6-7-43, Collingwood 3-1-19. Swans by 4 goals neat, 13 goal in second term.
Collingwood at the moment just can't have the ball living in their inside their forward 50 for any amount of time. Now, they haven't got it in there much for starters, but when it gets there, it is just being swept out easily, and that was terrific play by the Swans, length of the ground stuff. You just highlighted Ash Johnson, Lockie Schultz have not touched the football.
No.
Have not touched
McCready
the football.
has had one, and I think Mychek might have had one. That's 4 of their forwards.
Yep. So it's not staying inside there at all. No. Yes, Cal.
Tim Hodges on the boundary.
Brodie Grundy off his first rest of the term, 13 minutes in. And just an update on the Spider Cam. It's in the naughty corner, so it's not being used at the moment. So I'm not sure protocols, if it is hit, it has to sit out for the rest of the term or the rest of the match, but it's not being used at the moment.
Restart back in the middle. Tumble kick forward from the Pies, finds Rampy. Rampy's hand pass out wide. Picked up by Jordan off the back flank. Handball back to Rampy. Hand pass away to Florence. Short kick finds Heaney. Left half back. It is all Sydney. Twice as many inside 50s in the opening term. Twice as many scoring shots, yet trailed. And now they're getting some reward on the scoreboard as Campbell bobs up, takes the mark. No, he doesn't. Drops it on the wing. Hand pass to Goulden. Gives it to Heaney. Kicks inside 50. Warner leaping up, takes the mark, and they could have raffled it. They had 2 fly, 25 out, dead in front.
He's the one.
Oh, he just can't stop him.
He's lighting up this quarter. He's had 9 touches, Mick.
Yeah, but they're all good ones too.
Dangerous ones, yeah.
Outside of the shot on goal, which really was touch and go, hit the post, he has dominated.
And this bloke as well, Chad Warner, he's had 8 touches. If he can add a goal here, those 2 have taken over this quarter.
The Swans showing us those Friday night moves as Warner goes back and pumps that through. A half dozen without a response. 7-7 to 3-1. It is Sydney by 30 points halfway through the second term. And the alarm bells are ringing even louder for Craig McRae and the Pies.
Well, they've just got no spark, as in a player spark. So someone who, well, Heaney, for instance, probably handled that ball 3 times in that little passage of play there, ends up in a goal. So you say that he started it, and he did start it because he's following up. I think it's about time. I know we have all these things about, we'll do it as a team, this sort of stuff. Every now and again you've got to say, OK, where's their spark coming from? Now, Heaney's not in the middle at the moment, but clearly he's one of the players who's got to say, well, we might have to sit on him.
Just gone to the bench, so it might have
no wonder.
Helped a little bit, with all his run. But, yeah, you're right, Mick. He's just dominating.
I think he'll win there too.
6 majors in a row, and the Swans lead it by 30 points. Finally, the Pies win it out of the centre. Pendlebury with the kick. Picked up beautifully by Hill. A little give to Elliott. Probably his first touch for the game, and it's not a great one. He's kicked it straight to McCartan. McCartan, a Swans fullback, clears outside defensive 50. It's a bouncing ball. Trapped well by Maynard. Wonderful smother by Fox. Maynard picks it up again. This time kicks under pressure, and it's picked off by Milliken.
Kel, you call a smother. I reckon today we've seen so many intercept smackdowns of the ball by Sydney. That shows how close they're getting to the contest.
Milliken to Cunningham. Round the other side they go. Blakey in space. Matt Roberts dancing around side bottom. Handballing backwards to Campbell. Campbell looks long down the line. He's going to kick for Warner here. McDonald comes in and spoils it over the top. McDonald in that matchup with Darcy Moore.
Again, though, no time at all did that ball stay in the Collingwood forward line.
And it's been in there 8 times this quarter. So the first quarter we know it was 14-7. It's 10-8 this quarter.
I reckon it's been in 8 times for a total of about 20 seconds.
Yeah,
that's throw in right in front of the Shane Warne stand. Neither of the ruck win it in the air, and pouncing on it is Josh Dacos, and it's held to him.
Very lucky it wasn't holding the ball, actually. He just jumped on it.
Umpire doesn't waste any time. Mason Cox flicks it. Nick Dacos off to Lipinski. Now they've got a bit of run. Hoskin Elliott, though, is kicked straight to Cunningham in the bullseye. He gives it off to McCartan. McCartan fires it up high. Fox ran at it, missed it in the end. Lloyd grabs it. Maynard grabs him. And it'll be a ball up this time on the northern wing.
Sydney have kicked 5 unanswered goals in the quarter. They've kicked the last 6 of the game. After Collingwood led by 8 points time on in the opening term, we're now 17 into the second. And it's Sydney by 30. From the stoppage, they've got it again, the Swans. Warner pops it out wide for Gordon. This smooth mover back onto his left peg, kicks inside 50 and reaching for it more. Takes the intercept mark, the premiership captain. He's off and moving, tries out the southern side. A long kick trying to find Bobby Hill and Blakey in a one-on-one. Fortunate bounce for Bobby Hill, comes back to him, back flank. Spears a kick down the wing and Elliott marks. There's not a whole heap up ahead. Plenty of red and white jumpers get back.
They can switch this though. Scotty Pendlebury has got numbers on this side of the ground.
Marks in the centre square, comes to the member side for Maynard. Long left footer down the side bottom. He's 70 from home. Short pass finds Jack Crisp. Game number 216 on the bounce. Short kick back to Pendlebury. All bar 3 Sydney players, so 15 of them in the defensive arc at the moment. To the punt right end, Pendlebury needs to be precise, he is. Hits up Mason Cox. He's still got every bit of it, Scotty Pendlebury. What placement that is off his left boot.
Yeah, it was the fake too, to arc out wide, and I reckon it was Matty Roberts who bought every single bit of it and thought he was going to go to the boundary and a bit longer, and then just pulled his kick at the last second. That's class.
And all of a sudden, this is a kick for Collingwood. Conceded the last 6 in the game. Mason Cox in his sports goggles has a little look up to the big screen. He's got the main character vibes. Mason Cox, he moves in, he misses. They needed that one from him. 3-2 to 7-7. Swans by 29, 19 gone second term.
What's their first score of the quarter? 5-1 to 1 point. And entrances are 11 to 9. So as you said it, Lingy, it's gone in and come straight out.
So Grundy's come straight back on the ground. Blakey on the kick in looked for Grundy, but Amati flew in front of him and took the mark. He's got it at half back. It's long down the line. Mason Cox and Grundy were there as well. It's a free kick against Cox.
No, 2 Cox.
Oh, 2 Cox rather. Yep. Thanks, Lingy. And he's played on straight away. Handball over to Quaynor. Gave it to side bottom. Now here's Schultz. Lockie Schultz. I think it might be his first touch for the night. Is it a good one to Bobby Hill? He launches directly in front of goal. Pies fans want to push in the back against McCreery, and he's going to get it. In fact, it's Hill rather against Harry Cunningham.
No, I think it's McCreery. I think he's holding the man, I'd say. Well, they're going to give it no, I'm going to say that Hill's nowhere near it.
Just a little grab of McCreery.
Oh.
Yep.
Not heaps there.
No, not at all. So Hill flew. And then McCreery bent over to try and pick it up, and Cunningham tackled him.
Like any good forward, though, McCreery made sure the umpire saw it.
Felt like he pulled out of picking up the ball when he felt the contact. Thought, oh, hang on.
This is much needed. Trailing by 29 points, directly in front. He stabs at it. He's got it. Pressure. And McCreery starts the long road back. Back to 23 points. The Swans lead at 7-7-49. Collingwood 4-2-26, and it stops that run of 6 majors in a row to the visitors.
Lingy, I haven't seen him in the middle, McCreery, because pre-season I was saying how dynamic he was in the middle. I would have thought, given the way Sydney were going that first 15 minutes of this quarter, that it doesn't hurt to shake something up and put a new look in there, because he does hit the ball hard, he tackles hard.
Yeah, no, you're right. They haven't used him at all, and they're not going to use him again. DeGoey, Nick Dacos and Pendlebury.
The clearances are 5 each, but it's the way Sydney are clearing it. They're clearing it with depth.
Heaney's back on the ground now, so they got Heaney and Warner back in the middle together. That was the big difference for most of this second term.
The Pies playing catch-up again. They were 30 behind earlier in the quarter. They're now down 23 from the restart. Heaney first clean touch. Hand pass to Roberts, but they're retreating. Goes back to Rampy. Back flank, kicks down the wing. It's a good one, and Jordan takes the mark.
Well, Heaney on the ground. He gets the first clearance. As soon as he's back on there, he just hunts the football.
James Jordan, number 17 for his new club. Doesn't quite fit The 23 used to wear for Melbourne, so a little more fitting for a sportsman named Jordan as the kick goes down to half forward and it's punched out of bounds. We'll have a throw in half forward for the Swans. Tim Hodges on the boundary.
Just a report, and no one probably cares, but Spider Cam. So I think they stopped it just to make sure it wasn't broken from the contact with the ball. They're happy that it's okay and it's now moving again. So Spider Cam back in operation out there in the middle of the ground.
Direct line to the Spider Cam operator or something. Hodgie bringing us all the insight. Love it. Boundary throw-in, back in play. Stolen by Jordan. His handball, though, couldn't quite make it to Heaney. It's a 50-50 ball across half forward here for the Swans. Here's Schultz trying to get himself involved again. Handball's out to Nick Dacos. Right up against the boundary line. Spears the left foot pass. Couldn't quite get it to Johnson, but it ricochets back into his lap. He handballs it over the top. Should stick here for Schultz and gives it to Gagoe. And he didn't hear the footsteps of James Rowbottom bearing down. And Rowbottom lets Gagoe know all about it.
Great tackle, brilliantly umpired. It's
Yes.
not holding the footy,
No.
so the right call was made, but what a tackle by Rowbottom.
Yep.
Centre half forward, a ball up. Cameron held by Grundy.
Yeah, these ruckmen, they're coming in and they're manhandling the ruckman at these bounces. So that's a fair call. They're trying to get rid of the ruckman, trying to wrap the arms around the opposition ruckman.
Gagoe wanted a little sneaky from 50, but Cameron said no. So he's going to bomb it from inside the centre square, directly in front. Cox was the target. There's 3 Swans on him. McCreary with a quick snap. Great smother. He picks it up again. Going to handball back to Lipinski. To go, he says, leave it for me. He steamrolls in, comes back to Schultz, who knows where the goals are. Welcome to the Black and White Army, Lachie Schultz. First goal for the Magpies. And they all get around him. Purple patch for Schultz after barely a touch in that first quarter. And back-to-back goals for the Pies, and they're back to within 17 points. 5-2-32 on 7-7-49. 24 minutes of play.
You're right, Cal. Lachie Schultz has got involved in the play. Couple of touches, I think up to 4 disposals now, plus that goal. He's just working himself around the footy. And the ball, Mick, has been living a bit more in that Collingwood end of the ground, giving themselves some repeat entries.
Staying in there.
And time in there where they could put the Sydney Swans defenders under a little bit of pressure. And it wasn't pretty. It was only a half chance. The ball bobbled out, and brilliant finish by a clever forward.
They talk all the time about how you got to play the minutes against the Magpies. 30 points down is nothing for them. Back in the middle of the ground. Pemberbury to Nick Dacos. Hand pass to Cameron. Collingwood going forward again. Bobby Hill hand on it. 40 out half forward. Ball hits the deck. Schultz moves in. The goal kicker from moments ago. Hand pass back in front of Hill. He goes to ground. Johnson keeps his feet but lost the footy. Now the Swans win it back. Florent. Hand pass away to Rampy. Back flank. He kicks to the logo on that southern wing. Hands to it from Amati and it sticks.
Great grab. Now, he could go quick if he wanted, but he had chosen not to. He had runners going past.
Velcro for hands there. Still a 17-point advantage for the road team as the kick from Amati heads down to half forward. Pack forms underneath a marking contest, and the umpire says, I'll have it. A ball up 60 metres out from the Sydney goal at the City end. Swans by 17 as we close in on half-time.
I was about to say, the energy efforts of Collingwood have lifted dramatically because all of a sudden there's this little bit of belief.
What a tap by Grundy. He gave it to Campbell, who delivered high. And Pat skittled. There's some players down as well. Comes away of side bottom in the defensive 50. McCreary. Maynard. Beautiful delivery to Cox, who marks. The umpire paid it. He couldn't hear the whistle. It's a hold.
No mark paid, and then...
Oh, Maynard's gone on with it here with Matt Roberts.
And it was a holding the man to Tom McCartan against Mason Cox.
So McCartan wins the free, hence the reaction from the Pies fans. And they're hanging over the fence down near where Tim Hodges is sitting at the moment. They're up. They're pointing. Their hands are on their head. They can't understand it, but McCartan's got the free. And he's going to send it long inside 50. McLean got his hands to it. Here's Heaney. Dispossessed in a Howe tackle. Howe and Heaney go on with it afterwards. Hoskin Elliott just bounces it out only as far as Blakey. Sends it to the square. Looking for it was Campbell down there, but it's punched over by Darcy Moore.
I was always paid that mark by
Mason Cox. I thought it was a little fumbly.
Yeah,
You've got to complete the mark.
Yeah,
but,
he's not my favourite player, so I'm happy enough. That'd have been one of my favourites. I would have paid it.
Nick Moldhouse and
I can do that from here.
Back for a new year for the boundary throw-in. Falls down Collingwood's way. Nick Dacos, hand pass, partially knocked down by McInerney and now out of play.
I reckon I could write a list. Mixed likes and mixed dislikes. There's about 20.
Is that obvious, is it?
Yep, there's 20 on each list.
We might keep track of that as the year progresses and see who catches the most strays on the way through from the coaching legend. And the boundary throw-in. McLean at the drop, knocks it down to Crisp for Collingwood. Hand pass to Nick Dacos, gives it to brother Josh. Hand pass to Maynard, short kick finds Elliott, barely 15.
Yeah, they've come a long way up the ground, the Pies forwards. Now they're going to have to settle, see if they can get the numbers where they need them.
Elliott played across half-back in some of the match simulation in the pre-season, but started up front in the season proper. He kicks down the wing, and McCartan takes a strong intercept mark for the Swans. Chance to go back the other way. Short kick out wide to James Jordan. Second game in his new colours, a win over his old team last week. Very short to Blakey. And the man they call the Lizard. Onto his preferred left boot. Drives it deep inside 50. McLean crashes the pack, hits the deck. Papley down there trying to stand up with a footy. Tackle dispossessed. Gee, how a little fumbly. Grundy goes to ground. No free kick. Hand pass from Papley. Back to the hot spot. 15 out from the Sydney goal. Pendlebury, almost like a basketball as he dribbles it. That's his MO. Out towards Markov. Hand pass to Nick Dacos. Gives it to Josh. And finally he can clear the defensive arc.
Ash Johnson is there. Couldn't take it in the air and he's tackled at ground level by McCartan. It's been in a bit of it. McCartan in the last couple of minutes.
Sydney have thrown a number of defenders behind the footy here, just trying to stop that last goal for the Pies.
Grundy thought he was playing for Collingwood. He tapped it rather straight down to De Goey, but he lost it when he was tackled, and then Heaney was tackled holding the ball. Maynard and Heaney go on with it afterwards.
It's a free kick to Sydney.
Oh, Rowbottom.
Yeah.
That must have been off the ball, I reckon.
Yep. After De Goey was tackled by Rowbottom, not for the first time this quarter to the turf. So Rowbottom's got it on the northern wing. Short to Blakey. Keeps it low. Gordon's got it. Lockie Schultz, the man on the mark. He's asking the question because we know Gordon will run around onto his left. This is what he does. Usually laser-like precision. Amati!
Wow.
Ooh, good grab.
I want to see where one the ruckman was and where Darcy Moore was, because I just did. Oh, Darcy was caught.
Amati has marked that at the top of the goal square.
I reckon Hayden McLean's fly has kind of negated Darcy Moore, Mick, and that's allowed Amati to then come through and take it pretty comfortably in there.
Well, I think Darcy was right out of position.
So, Joel Amati, who was subbed out last week, is lining up for his second major in this first half to get it out to a 23-point lead. He misses it. It's a misfire off the boot of Joel Amati.
Well, that's a shocking.
And he slaps his hands in disgust. Swans by 18 points.
You know, you work that hard for that mark, and you're only 10 metres out, really. You're 15 metres out, best.
Here's Howe, and the kick out goes wide. Johnson flying for it. McCartan punches it out of bounds. Throw in 70 out from the Sydney goal. 11 ticks left on the clock before half-time.
They've been very good, the Swans, but they've left a few on the table.
Oh, yeah, I reckon.
Inside 50 count for the quarter, +4 Sydney's way. So for the match, make that +11. We've also had 15 scoring shots to 7. Lead the game by 18 for the boundary throw-in. No clean telling touch, and that'll do us. Half-time. The Magpie Army aren't happy. And they've got plenty in their own camp to worry about at half-time. It's Sydney who carry an 18-point advantage into the long break. 7-8-50. The Sydney Swans, they lead Collingwood 5-2-32. An 18-point advantage for the Swans at half-time. The goal kickers, Chad Warner and Logan McDonald, both have a couple for Sydney, and then one each for Rowbottom, Papley and Marty. Meanwhile, for Collingwood, 5 individual goal kickers, De Goey, Schultz, Hill, McCreary and Nick Dacos. Annie, a blue bagger from Queanbeyan. Welcome back to the Friday night crew. Do you think starting earlier has affected players like the Pies, players from the Pies? Injuries, shorter pre-seasons, etc., enjoying the game as a blue bagger. Thanks, Annie. Obviously, the Pies went another 3 weeks than the Sydney Swans, who, of course, were knocked out at the elimination final stage. Marcus at, I think it's Kenilworth. I hope I've pronounced it Kenilworth. I hope I've pronounced that correct. Ask Lingy, will he be standing on the new terrace at Caminia Park tomorrow night?
I'd be happy to be doing that. The standing room area, that'll be beautiful. But no, I am working at the game for the television coverage tomorrow.
Lingy will be on the broadcast tomorrow night. From Curran in Adelaide. Hi, guys. Long-time listener, first-time texter. We love those. Look forward to another splendid year with you guys. Thanks, Curran. Appreciate your text 0437 774 774. And the Freo Cookster, who again is one of our most loyal listeners. Greetings, Corby and the team from Netherlands, where it's 32 degrees in the shade. So still daylight savings in some parts of the East Coast. So as a result, it's what's that? It's not even 6 o'clock over in Perth and WA at the moment. Half-time here at the MCG. It's been a cracking day as well. Still 22 degrees here. Swans by 3 goals at the half. The thoughts of Cameron Ling and Mick Moldhouse.
An impressive burst from the Swans in that quarter, of course. They piled on the goals. Isaac Heaney, Chad Warner were superb. But, Mick, credit to Collingwood. They actually worked their way back into that. And Craig McRae won't be happy with the way things are going, but at least now he has an example to draw on in that last 10 minutes to say, hey, guys, that's the football. When we are relentless around the contest, when we put enormous pressure on the opposition and create some turnovers, and we get the ball inside forward 50 and trap it in there, we kick goals. Yeah. And we're the good team. Yeah. So now he'll have some things to point to at half-time. Before that 10 minutes, though, I was starting to get a little worried about them, the way they were playing.
Well, the change to me was that their forward lines worked up to the midfield, and their midfield then were able to work back to between mid and half back, help out the back line, because the back line was getting not smacked because of the numbers, but that little hole between full forward and centre of the ground, that's a big hole. So I'll make it half forward to centre of the ground, was dominated by Sydney. So by that forward line shuffling up, it gave Collingwood a lot more opportunity to have numbers where the ball was going to be. The only thing I say about that is that then you really have to shuffle very quickly on transition back in your forward line. Now, I thought there was a bit of... We said, where's the spark going to come from? Well, it didn't come from a player. I reckon it come from a goal. And it was only because they worked hard to get that goal. And then all of a sudden, what Collingwood was like, the belief. Yep. Oh, we don't care if we're 5 goals down. We can win this game. And I think, Corby, you might have called that. Now, I don't know whether Sydney will fall for it. I think they'll get back on the horse and go, this is the way we're playing. Because this is identical to Melbourne last week, except they're a lot cleaner because they're controlling this corridor and they're getting... And I know Kel called a smother. I reckon I've seen one big foot smother, but I reckon I've seen 4 or 5 handball smothers. That means you're right up with them. They're leading the tackles by a heap. I think it's 39 to 28. Yep. So they're playing really close in football. Collingwood like a little bit of space. They do fancy themselves on the contested footy, and there's a lot of players that can win the hard ball. There's no question. I'm not denying that, but they're not getting the space. And if Sydney will win this game, if they can maintain this for a full 4 quarters, and Collingwood will have their little bits and pieces, but the moment you drop off against Collingwood, they will kick goals.
That's the big one, isn't it? Because I think Corb's statement was you've got to play the minutes against Collingwood if you're going to beat them. Sydney have done that to a certain degree, but they've also left some great opportunities out there.
I reckon 4 at least.
Yeah. 4. Pretty simple... 15 to 30 metre set shots a goal.
Who fell over?
Jake Lloyd.
Lloyd fell over. You had someone drop a mark 10 metres out from up this end, and then there was a shot that who kicked the point down? Amadi took the big mark. There's 3 just sitting there smacking you in the eye, and they just. That last, the one on the ground, that was Lloyd. That was unforgivable. But I don't reckon it was just only him. It was the kick that he had 2 targets. He tried to kick it over his shoulder, and the ball's always going to be, when you kick it over your shoulder, you know where the ball bounces? No one knows. It is going to go anywhere, and of course Lloyd waited, and it did. It bounced anywhere.
The challenge for the Swans, if they're going to continue on and go on and win this game, which would be a terrific win, is the 8 to 10 minute patch in a quarter where Isaac Heaney and Warner need to have their breaks. Yep. Because
that run Grundy comes off the ball.
That run of Collingwood getting back into the game coincided with Isaac Heaney having his break. Yep. So Collingwood have got so many options to keep throwing the midfield there. They don't let up. The Swans don't go as deep through the middle of the ground. They're A grade. their starters,
Yeah.
are brilliant. But then when Heaney and Warner take their break, who else jumps in there?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Oh, it's good to be back at the footy. Full house at the MCG Friday night with our favourite team. It's great to have Cameron Ling and Mick Malthouse. Quick one for you, Mick. So I mentioned during the call, it's still March, midway through March. It's the start of the season. We're only 2 rounds in. As a coach, when you're in the box, how do you get the balance right between saying, look, it's early in the season, there's going to be a little bit of rust there, and saying we need to be as hard on them as we would be leading into a September campaign, given that if we turn a blind eye and a deaf ear here at the start of the season, it's hard to set those markers.
Look, there's a few things. One is, as a coach, I always used to say to the players, let's put them in the back pocket. Wins are gold. You put them in the back pocket because then if midway through the season you have a slump or you get a few injuries, then you've got something. It's very difficult to run a 400 metres if your first 100 metres is ordinary, because you'll hit the wall at some stage. So
I don't think harsh on if you're in the box and you're seeing little skill errors and stuff. Does that? Do you get really mad about that early in the year?
It won't be skill errors that I'd be worried about, because that's going to be natural. It's going to be effort.
Yep.
It's going to be the effort, because there's no substitute for. And I said before, it's very hard to measure hunger. I looked at Scott Pendlebury's first half last week, and I'm looking at him now, and he's gone from 2 first half last week. He's had 12. There's a bloke that's got great pride, and we've seen the delivery, we've seen the execution. There's a bloke that just won't accept ever mediocrity. So it's whether the bloke's like, and I mentioned before the game, I said about Johnson, Elliott, Schultz,
Hoskin
Cox. Hoskin Elliott. Cox started okay. Cox, I've got to say, started okay. Hoskin Elliott, he's had 10 positions, but you wouldn't know he's out there. And Johnson's got to stand up because Mychek's down. Now, Mychek, I'm going to give, he gets some leverage from me because he's been such a workhorse for so long, but he needs a handout, and the handout has to come from Johnson, or it's got to come from Cameron when he rests there and Cox in the ruck. Vice versa, when Cox is forward, giving Mychek a little bit of a hangout. But Johnson's the third tall. He should be scoring.
The other ones too are, and these are some of the, in Josh Dacos' case, an absolute A-grader. But Josh, can he go? He's just been a little bit off, and only the 8 touches so far. Pat Lipinski, can he just really get himself going again? He's only had the 7 touches. So even a couple of their better midfield type players are just off a little bit. It's almost at the moment. And I know stats don't say everything, but Nick Dacos has had 21 touches. Scott Pendlebury's had 12. And then it falls away a fair bit for midfielders. The rest are defenders.
It's half-time at the MCG. The thoughts of Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling. Sydney by 18 points over the Pies. Coming up, a third player in the competition has got a confirmed ACL tear. We're only 5 completed games into the season. Plus the Sunday teams are out, and we'll bring you up to date with what's happening in the NRL tonight. All of that coming up, but first, let's get the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News with Glenn Lauder. Aged care providers say a wage increase for the sector acknowledges the value of the female-dominated industry. Some workers will get their pay boosted by up to 28% after a decision by the Fair Work Commission. Jane Pickering's the Chief Executive of South Australian aged care provider Eldercare and says the increase is important, especially for female employees.
Aged care, predominantly female-dominated sector, has been highly undervalued, and I think any pay increase does go some way to acknowledging the fantastic work that aged care workers do across the country, particularly, as I said, those 300,000 women that work in the sector across the country. So it does mean a lot.
The nation's top scientific body sit back after its work was criticised by the opposition leader. Peter Dutton's questioned the organisation's independence after it found nuclear power to be the most expensive source of new energy for Australia. The CSIRO chief, Doug Hilton, is baffled by the comments.
I find that an unusual comment to make. CSIRO is Australia's national science agency and is absolutely independent. It has no preference for which technology might be used, whether that's nuclear or coal or gas or renewables.
The federal government's suggesting the way that some Palestinians previously issued with Australian visas managed to flee Gaza was a factor in their cancellation. Here's Matthew Doran.
Several Palestinians have expressed surprise and disappointment after learning their visas were cancelled after they fled Gaza, with little explanation as to why, and are now worried they're stranded in third countries because they can't travel on to Australia. A spokesperson for the Home Affairs Minister, Claire O'Neill, says the government recognises the distress many are feeling, and while it is committed to helping people trying to leave Gaza, it makes no apology for doing everything necessary to maintain national security. The spokesperson says that if people make it out of Gaza without explanation or their circumstances change in any meaningful way, the government will take the time to consider how that affects their situation.
And the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office says a new Gaza truce proposal presented by Hamas to mediators is still based on unrealistic demands. Reuters says the proposal includes a first stage of freeing the Israeli women, children, elderly and sick hostages in exchange for the release of 700 to 1,000 Palestinian prisoners. According to the proposal, Hamas would agree on a date for a permanent ceasefire after the initial exchange. Voters in parts of Russia are voting in the presidential election for the first time with an experimental electronic system. President Vladimir Putin's all but certain to win a further 6 years in office. The election includes territories occupied or influenced by Russia in Ukraine, Moldova and Georgia. Governor of the Far Eastern Kamchatka region and Putin loyalist Vladimir Zolotov says it's an honour to trial a new system.
Kamchatka will set an example so that everyone can take part in the election and, as a single organism, a united people, express their opinion regarding what we want our country to be like in the future, what we all rally around and what we hope for.
Authorities are responding to reports a teenage girl has been bitten by a shark at Bargara near Bundaberg in southern Queensland. Paramedics were called to the water this afternoon. A female patient has been treated at the scene for non-life-threatening minor wounds to her back and her legs. McDonald's restaurants across the globe have been hit by major IT system issues, preventing online orders and EFTPOS payments, among other things. So far, outages have impacted stores across countries, including Australia, New Zealand, the US and the UK, with some stores reportedly shutting operations completely. A McDonald's Australia spokesperson told the ABC that the company is aware of the problem and is working to fix it. There is concern around the amount of festivals that are having to be cancelled because of extreme weather. The Pitch Music and Arts Festival in Victoria was forced to cancel the remainder of its program last weekend because of heat as well as fire danger. Cultural sociologist at Griffith University, Dr. Ben Green, says festivals will need to cope with a changing climate.
My research with colleagues has found that in the last 10 years, more than 40 festivals in Australia have had to be cancelled, postponed or even evacuated. And more than half of those have been in the last few years since COVID. So this is a growing problem.
And the Hollywood actor Pierce Brosnan's been fined nearly $800 in the US for trespassing near hot springs in Yellowstone National Park. The former James Bond star had initially denied hiking in a restricted area, but changed his plea when he appeared in court. And that is the latest from ABC News.
This Thursday night kicks off a big weekend of footy. And you can listen big on the ABC Listen app. AFL, NRL and ABC Sport brings you the match between the Socceroos and Lebanon.
Good ball into the box, laid off the chest nicely. Jamie McLaren's there for the hat-trick.
The World Cup qualifier. Australia and Lebanon.
Ryan Grant heads across goal. Jamie McLaren hits it in.
Hear it live Thursday night on the ABC Listen app. This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL season. Every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Grundy launched up over the top of Cameron, got his hands to it, and then it's fisted down by Hayward towards Papley. Doesn't need much time, throws it on the left, and it bounces through. And that will ignite the red and white. They're back in front. So Swans with the ball. Back to Gordon. Outside 50. Dodging left. Dodging right. And a great bounce that comes to Rowbottom, who's got a snap from right on 50 and he's snapped it through.
High half forward for the Swans. Hand pass to Cunningham. Gives it to Warner. Heads back inside 50 for the Swans. Out the back. Waiting McDonald. Pops it through. And this lead swells for the Swans. Got it out to Heaney on the wing. Hand pass to Campbell, who's off and moving. Back onto his left peg. There's a Swan free at the goal square. It's McDonald again. Another goal coming up. Make it 5 in a row for the Bloods. The Swans showing us those Friday night moves as Warner goes back and pumps that through. A half dozen without a response.
Campbell back to Lipinski to go. He says, leave it for me. He steamrolls in, comes back to Schultz, who knows where the goals are. Welcome to the Black and White Army, Lachie Schultz.
The 2024 AFL Premiership season.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
The sixth game of the 2024 AFL Premiership season. Friday night footy in Melbourne for the first time of the young season. It is Collingwood, the reigning champs, up against the Sydney Swans, and it's the Swans who led it by 3 goals at half-time. 7-8-50 over Collingwood, 5-2-32. Corbin Middlemass and Kelly Underwood calling the footy. Tim Hodges on the boundary. Mick Moldhouse and Cameron Ling, your grandstand AFL experts. So usual crew on Friday night again in Melbourne. Now the NRL tonight, one game already completed. The Cronulla Sharks beat the Canterbury Bulldogs 25-6. So a 19-point win for the Sharkies. And there's one game on at the moment between the Penrith Panthers and the Parramatta Eels, a proper Western Sydney showdown. It is Parramatta who lead the 3-time reigning premiers at halftime by 2 points. So 18-16 Parramatta over Penrith. If you want to listen to the NRL, you can do so all season long through the ABC Listen app. Just look out for that green ABC Sport button. Now the Sunday teams are in as well. So squads named last night. Melbourne have 5 new faces. Pickett, Tom McDonald, Ben Brown is back. Marty Hore, which is an amazing story. This guy was delisted 2 years ago, played for Melbourne, had stints in the VFL, has come back, and at 28 is going to start his second stint as a Demon. And Tajwa Woden also included for that game up against the Western Bulldogs. The Bulldogs have overlooked Sam Darcy, so there's no room for him in their team first up. Rory Lobb gets the nod there. And Caleb Daniel has been named on a 5-man bench. So obviously the sub will come out of those 5. Now for Fremantle, there's no Jager O'Meara, so he's been under an injury cloud. He won't play on Sunday. Jeremy Sharp will make his club debut, as will Oscar McDonald. So for his third team, having previously played with Carlton and Melbourne. Brennan Cox is fit and will play for the Dockers in their season opener. Connor McKenna is the in for Kitty Coleman. And Darcy Gardner's been chosen ahead of Jack Payne. Meanwhile for Geelong, for Port Adelaide up against West Coast, Asava Radagalia in his new colours is going to make his club debut, as is Brendan Zirk-Thatcher and Ivan Soldo, so all in for the Power. The number 1 pick, Harley Reid, will play for the West Coast Eagles, as will Tyler Brockman. So there's a little taste of the teams for Sunday. All games, of course, heard on ABC Sport this weekend. And the last one isn't good news. A confirmed ACL tear for Josh Gibcus, who missed all of last year with hamstring surgery. Top 10 pick from a couple of years ago. Can't get a run at it and tears his ACL. So the third player to do an ACL in the first 5 games of the new season.
Not good. And as you say, 3 players, and you're looking at maturity. One has come off his third.
Yep.
Got a young player from hamstring problems. And, you know, the work they put in with the hamstrings, I'm not saying for one moment other muscles are neglected, but you just suspect that all that work around the muscle group would be, but it was the way he felt. And Coleman, that was very simple. You might have to cash back a long time, but when Paul Salmon did his for Essendon, it was a kick and someone come across his leg. That was almost the same as Coleman. Yeah. It wasn't as if he fell awkwardly. It was someone come across his leg. So, and you just know round 1, it's a whole year. So it's just devastating for those players. You feel they don't have long careers. Believe me, these boys do not have long careers. And one out, and psychologically next year they go a little bit cautious. And who knows where Sam Doherty's going to be.
New weekend slate as well on ABC AFL. So Cameron Ling, you've moved to Sundays with Matt Clench.
Yes, and 12 o'clock.
And Jake Knoll, so 12 noon Australian Eastern Daylight Time. And Mick Moldhouse, you will be with me.
Yes.
And Luke Ball every Saturday from tomorrow onwards. So
big.
Are we ready to go?
Oh, we're ready to try to
stirring up.
Where we want that hour.
We'll tell you more.
Or an hour and a half, whatever it is.
Tell you more about it in the post game. Second half upon us. You're with Kelly Underwood. It is the Swans by 18.
Bounce in the centre of the G. Cameron gets one over Grundy. Ball hits the deck. They all pile on. McInerney was in there. He was taken high by Crisp. And he wins a free kick. Thought about giving the handball off to to Warner, and instead he dodges one, he dodges two, he bounces bravely in the centre, and then he delivers inside 50 over the head of Hayward. Flicked back here by Maynard, toe poke from Cameron into space, gets them out of trouble, the Pies, momentarily, but swooping on it is Lloyd, zigging and zagging and then delivering straight to Maynard. He was looking for Hayward, who couldn't get near it. So
Big
Maynard,
strong lad, isn't he? Maynard, size of him, he's good Hampton lad.
Even with that one-on-one with Hayward when the ball went inside 50, it was no chance Hayward had to shift him.
You've got to go around the block to get around the ball, to get to the ball for a start off.
goes short to Howe, who missed last week with injuries. Back in this week. He kicks on the edge of the centre square. The umpire says it's a free going to the Pies. And Cameron it was. Gives it off to De Goey. Comes out wide to Josh Dacos. Piercing pass right on 60. McCreery marks. Eyes are darting. Centering ball to De Goey. Man on the mark is 55 out. De Goey's spinning the Sharon in his hands, and then he just lobs it into space. He's asking Mychek to run and jump, and that's exactly what he did. Couldn't take the mark, though. Cunningham clearing kick. Maynard's there. Maynard, basketball slaps it to himself before Brodie Grundy comes in and makes sure that he goes nowhere. It'll be a ball up at centre half forward here for the Pies, kicking to the City end in this second half.
Speaking of basketball, we were following Kelly's fledgling coaching career of the basketball team, but apparently that's over before it started, as from the restart, a little up and under from Cameron as he kicks it inside the forward arc, and on the end of it is Ash Johnson, who takes a chest mark, and he'll have a shot here from 40 out straight in front.
I always hate Malingi. I hesitate to call these out, Mick, but every now and then as a player you're in a situation where you have to go, and that was Nick Blakey then, and did not want one single bit of that and just let Ash Johnson come through. He knew it immediately, and his teammates knew it immediately.
Yeah, it's bad play.
Not good enough.
Not at all.
In for the injured Dan McStay. He got a look at it last week, didn't hit the scoreboard. Opportunity here, goes begging. He has shanked that. Wide right, missed the entire set.
And yet, you know, Corby, last year you would have called him every time he went near the football. You'd say there was 7 or 8 out of 10 shots he would not miss at all.
So the Swans have worked it after half back here. McDonald's involved. Handball clever by Papley. He flicked it over his shoulder to Warner because he knew the trouble was coming, and then Warner kicks up to a 2-on-2. Amadi skittled, so too is Moore. Out to Hayward. Hayward fumble, takes Pendlebury high.
I just cannot believe that a player of Hayward's stature would tap the ball instead of grabbing the ball. He was so far clear from that brilliant bit of play by Heaney. There's another one going begging.
So promising last week, Will Hayward. A lot of talk about him this week, and yet he hasn't really been able to get involved here tonight.
Well, his teammates would be really disappointed in that. That was a terrible bit of play.
Former captain to the current one, Darcy Moore at centre half back, swings his kick wide. Schultz, great pick up, turns Goulden inside out, boundary side. Kicks down the wing. It'll sit nicely for McInerney, though. Takes on the follow-up tackle from Schultz. Hand pass to Cunningham. Cunningham goes back for Sydney by hand to Rampy. Now the defensive side of the wing. Hand pass back to Cunningham. Gives it to Florent. Short pass and broken up. Nice work getting across and punched out a play by Mychek. Throw in between wing and half forward for Collingwood.
Great by Mychek. Great by Jamie Alledge. His relentless pressure caused that.
But Lingy, you don't play that sort of, you don't play shallow marbles there. You get rid of the thing and put it 50 metres down the round.
Swans by 18 points. Early stages of the third. Boundary throw in on the southern wing, and Grundy gets it to Papley, who kicks up the ground, and he'll dribble over the boundary. We'll reset and go again.
That's better by Darcy Moore, right on his opponent there. Had no chance of marking that and cleared the ball beautifully.
Collingwood led by as much as 8 at the 20-minute mark of the first term. Swans led by as much as 30 deep into the second quarter. Boundary throw in, 70 out. Darcy Cameron straight down to Dacos. Cameron all by hand. By De Goey, feeds it out, misses the target in Dacos, Nick Dacos. And it'll be another boundary throw in this time. 80 metres around, half forward for the Swans, kicking to the punt road end in this third quarter.
Obviously, McKay's Nick Dacos runs because he does not stop. He just drives his opponent mad if he's running.
Grundy wins it down, but Sidewalk first clean possession from the stoppage. Hand pass into the front half. Papley paddles it to Melican's advantage. Tackled immediately, lost it. Florent cleans it up. Gives it to Cunningham for Sydney. Kicks down the southern wing. Pendlebury's onto it, gets back onto his left side. Heaney allows him to do it as he kicks to half forward. Big fly, Elliott can't come down with it. Cunningham had it, lost it. Lipinski back onto it for Collingwood. Hand pass to Schultz, kicks to Johnson, back pedaling to the goal square. Rampy, excellent. Gets a fist in there and punches it through for a rush behind. Collingwood draw within 17. Sydney 7-8. Collingwood move to 5-3. It's the first score of the second half, which is almost 6 minutes old.
Blakey goes for a trot and then delivers to Heaney, who got up on the shoulders of Sidebottom in a one-on-one contest. Ball went over their head. Maynard, Pendlebury tackled over the line by Amati. It's kept in though. Clever little tap by Gordon. Uses Papley. Coming in was Darcy Moore with the intercept. Fires it off to Sidebottom. Bouncing ball on the southern wing. De Goey's got it. Handballs over the top into space. Trying to run onto it but unable to control it is Myercheck, and then Rowbottom picks it up. Myercheck tackles him over the ground, over the line.
I'll ask this question. Is it looks like part of the game plan to tap the ball instead of grabbing the ball? This has happened too often by Sydney, and they're losing control of the football, but it looks like it's one of their plays.
Rowbottom got the free kick for the deliberate out of bounds, pumps it down the wing, but Collingwood win it back. Moore for Collingwood. Hand pass to Lipinski, gives it to Nick Dacos. Hand pass back to Moore. Still in an offensive half, shocking kick. Moore shanks it, kicks it straight to McDonald. Downhill, McInerney marks, show him your tail lights, rolls into the open goal and bangs it up into the top tier. And the Darcy Moore turnover is costly. They pay full price. Collingwood 5-3-33, Sydney 8-8-56. Swans with the first goal of the second half. They led it by 23, 7 gone in the third.
I couldn't put it in the book straight away. I thought something crazy was going to happen then after what we saw in the second term. But Logan McDonald couldn't believe his luck when Darcy Moore just hit him lace out. And it was a very simple goal. There's been some skill errors this quarter so far, Mick, by both teams. And you're right about lots of players just trying to tap it on. The cute little play, which at times is the right play when there's momentum going, but then at other times
you've got
to take advantage, take possession, and get the clear disposal to your teammate.
Well, you know what's happening when you've got it.
Yeah.
If you're tapping the ball, generally, one, you're looking at the football, then you're not 100% sure what's around you. I always say to my players, grab the ball, take the hit.
Sydney by 23, bounce down in the centre, hurried kick by the Swans out of that centre circle. Hayward does well, fakes the handball one way, turns and spins and tries to deliver. Pendlebury gets a hand on it, bunts it down towards Sidebottom. Coming in though was Fox, fires it out wide to Gordon on the outside of his left boot. Can he work some magic back? No, he can't. Gordon trying to ignite something for the Swans.
Pies wasting no time, exiting kick out of the defensive arc, finds Cameron, nice mark at half-back. Kick from Maynard.
That is a nice mark. Sort of didn't come out and hit that ball. It was a low ball, beautiful mark.
A boy from Albany, about 5 or 6 hours south of Perth. Darcy Cameron, he goes short to Maynard, and Maynard chips it back to Lipinski.
Near your place, Corby?
I'm not that far south. More the half an hour range rather than the 6 hours as Lipinski goes long down the wing. Hands to it from Cox. No mark. Falls down to Rowbottom. Hand pass to Warner. Dishes it off for Sydney away to McLean. He missed his target by hand. A few skill errors here in the second half. To Lipinski. He coughs it up to his opposite number, Warner. Sydney back the other way. McLean. Hand pass to Gordon. He's always clean. Spears it onto the chest of Amati, and the Swans will have a set shot here. 45 out right half forward.
The skill errors continue, and that's the fatigue of just getting used to playing in proper games against good opposition. Just not being able to give that sharp first option, whether by hand or by foot. And
isn't it though, when you got that stress, clear the ball. Clear the ball. Don't try to be cute with something you don't know.
That was a right foot or two from Errol Gordon. What a player he is already. Amati, set shot 48 metres out. The kick is offline. Through for a minor score, missed out to the left. So 8-10 to 5-3. Sydney by 25, 10 gone in the third. Tim Hodges on the boundary.
Corbin, one for the boys in the back row. Finn McRae, so much raps on him over pre-season. Would you be considering
certainly
triggering someone out of this game to get him in as a bit of a fire starter in that midfield that's just not working at the moment?
Yes, Timmy, you've made a good coach. No, you're spot on. Spot on. It's not as if you've only got one or two on the bench. You've got 5. So if you're in doubt, make them change. If you can add a bit of run, which is clearly in the side because of his run, yes, he's exactly right.
Who comes off for him, Mick?
Well, the slowest player out there, or maybe one of the tallest players that's not contributing. I mean, Johnson would be my logical choice. He's not doing anything, Johnson.
Much of a say Johnson tonight. Ash Johnson.
And that doesn't change the dynamics of the forward line, because at the moment he's not marking anything.
So Collingwood slow and steady. They've worked it up to the interchange gates where McCreery kicks, looking for Cox. A double grabber off to Elliott. Elliott tries to break the tackle, but he can't. He's run down beautifully by Rampy. And now the Swans, by hand, work it through the defensive 50. Warner with a lovely sidestep, reads that beautifully, and then squares the kick back to Rampy, who's standing in as the captain tonight. No, Callum Mills. He's named as the sole captain for this Swans team this year.
Got a few good players out, haven't they, when you start talking about Mills being out,
Yep.
Parker being out?
Yep. No Taylor Adams out there yet either. So the long kick down the line, and Logan McDonald couldn't mark it, but he got a shove in the back from De Goey, and he wins a free kick.
Darcy Moore set up just behind the ball here, so they can't go long. They're just going to try and pick their way through this Collingwood setup, the Swans.
Donald short to Florent. 95th consecutive game for Ollie Florent. 4th longest streak in the AFL as he kicks out wide. Finds Fox. Takes the mark. Left half forward. He's about 70 from home. He rolls and lays it up at the top of the goal square. Cox is down there. He and Grundy fly for it. Neither mark. Hits the deck. Well, throwing his head back there is Dean. No free kick. Crisp attacks the footy and can get it out of the defensive arc. Long to Myercheck. Strong hands. Mark's under pressure on the wing.
It's a great mark.
It's a good mark, but it's well done by Florent too, to bring him to the ground without giving away a 50-metre penalty. It just slows Collingwood up enough here on this wing.
He's going to dab the kick short to Lipinski. He marks logo broadcast side. Tim Hodges on the boundary. Hodgie.
Just keeping an eye on Tom Papley. Left knee. He's had the doctor come out to him. He's waved him off, but he's hobbling badly.
So the Pies have now got it through Quaynor, who goes for a run right through the corridor and then delivers wide. He flares the long kick to Darcy Moore. Moore's got it at half forward. The penetrating kick inside 50. Cameron was the target. Ridden into the turf was Florent with a McCreery tackle. Umpires his play on. McCreery picks it up. He's tackled tough by 2 Swans players, and then Florent spinning around a high up and under kick clears the defensive zone. Flick back clever from Rampy. McLean goes without it. Quaynor does well, although he handballs now straight to McLean. Gives it to Lloyd. Lloyd to Jordan, right in front of those interchange gates. Jordan to a one-on-one. It's Howe got a hand to it. McInerney beats him though. Weaving and gives it back to Fox it was, and Fox's kick lets him down. Darcy Moore is back there and able to mark to Crisp, who takes them on. Crisp has run down. Hayward wins the free kick. Is it play on advantage? The umpire says yes. McDonald all by himself in the goal square. And just like McInerney a few moments ago, he kicks it up to the 3rd tier at the MCG. 2 goals in this 3rd term, as easy as you like for the Swans from the goal square. McDonald kicks his 2nd, and it's back out to a 25-point lead. 9-10-64. Collingwood 5-3-33, and if I add another one, it's McDonald with 3.
Yeah, and he's had some of those where he's just been able to end up in the goal square and just pop them straight through.
They're very aggressive in the back line, Lingy. They've been all last year. If you're going to get Collingwood, you get them out the back. If you can turn that ball over, and quite often Collingwood didn't turn the ball over, but they've turned the ball over enough. Look, we've seen Darcy Moore now have a kick from, say, 50 or 60 metres. We've seen Elliott up on this half-back line. So they're mixing and matching, but their back line are really aggressive, coming right up the ground.
Usually see Craig McRae so energetic on the bench. He's got hands on hips the entire game.
New game high, 31 points Sydney's way as Grundy wins it down. Heaney had pass to Gordon. It's a little kick out, but it's picked off, and Pendlebury takes the intercept mark. Short across the ground to Nick Dacos. Halfway through this third term as Dacos goes out wide and finds Hoskin Elliott between wing and half forward. With a huge crowd in the G tonight, majority of them members of the Magpie Army, and they've played from behind all night. Short kick out to De Goey. Still 60 from home. Pops it inside 50, and McCartan stands in front of his own teammate. Takes an easy intercept mark.
Been very good tonight, Tom McCartan.
Yeah, well, the idea with Cox, you cannot stand behind him because he's too tall. Get in front of him, you know he's going to lead up. He's so predictable. Play in front of him, the ball's going to come in low, and that's what's happened on 2 occasions where the mark's been taken.
Short kick to Rampy, heads down the wing. Cox spills a juggled mark, falls through to McInerney, fights through the tackle, got it to Gordon. Sydney's out. Over halfway, Heaney, hand pass links up with McLean. Short pass finds McDonald. They're all streaming forward. McDonald's cutting back to the corridor. Hits up Lloyd. Lloyd to the centre square, finds James Jordan. He marks front edge of the centre square at the G. Sydney continue to run inside that attacking arc. Short pass finds Cunningham. Collingwood doing their best to defend it. Sydney by 31. 16 gone in the third term. And Cunningham just gives it some hang time. Inside 50, Heaney marks. His feet almost still on the ground as he reels that in. Standing in front of the pack, and Heaney can have a set shot here. 25 out, virtually straight in front.
Well, read it before everyone, Nick.
Yeah, well, he did, but what's the work he does here? He pushes his opponent.
Nice push off.
Just
yeah.
Beautiful bit of play on
Jack Crisp.
Yeah, was Crisp. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. He read where that ball was going to drop. Knew he couldn't bring Crisp with him. Just held him off just enough.
Yep. Oh, brilliant bit of play. This is a test for him.
For his first of the night, Isaac Heaney skips in, drop punt is good. Sydney stretching this one out. New game high with every score at the moment. It's up to 37 points, Sydney's advantage. 17 gone in the third, 10-10 to 5-3. And Mick Malthouse, the premiers, are staring down the barrel of zip and 2.
Well, they are.
How big a deal is that?
Oh, well, I don't know. Yeah, it's only a big deal because it's round 1. But you've played 2 games out of 23, so I mean that's where it is. And the fact is they've played 2 Sydney sides. This game's not over. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We know they can fight back. What is it? There's still 6 minutes, so 26 minutes of genuine play left, and they've got to kick 6 goals in 26 minutes more than the opposition. GWS and Sydney both final 8 sides. That's the significance that you're losing to those sides. Or potentially lose 2 games to those sides.
Mentioned Craig McRae with the hands on the hip. He's got the furrowed brow as well, so just mumbling.
Well, you know, Kel, when things roll for you, you know, sometimes a couple of losses in a row, it's very interesting.
So a ball up in the end after the bouncing work from the umpire, and Pendlebury with the clearance. A little give and go, and now he's dashing away, delivering deep. One-on-one contest, it's Johnson and Milliken. Milliken punches it down, beats Johnson to the ball, and then he pounces on the pie with the ball on the bottom of the pack. My check, and it's a ball up. 20 metres out from the Pies goal. They're trailing by 37 points, nearing three-quarter time. Both ruckmen miss it. Fresh airy from Myercheck, and then Campbell just runs away with it. Boots it as long as he possibly can, and Howell's there, the only player, takes the defensive mark. The intercept. Retreats.
Sydney got everyone back. It's a bit early to have everyone back. I'll pay a penalty here.
To Dean, and then Dean in the centre circle flicks it to side bottom, who then penetrates towards Cox. It bumbles around down there. A hurried kick. Is that deliberate? It was from off the boot of a Swans player, off McCartan, and it is deliberate. So it'll be a free kick for the Pies in the right forward pocket at the City end. Closest player, Ash Johnson. He is a bit of a miracle man, but it's sort of an all or nothing when it comes to Ash Johnson.
Got to hide that one a little bit better. The Swans defender was a McCartan who just
that was a real
booted it out of bounds.
What's he got for us?
The boomerang. He won't go left, I wouldn't have thought.
He gets subbed after this. Not if he produces a miracle, and he can't. It's too skinny. He went the banana off the right foot, and he misses to the near side. Might just be his last kick in the game, maybe. 6 minutes to play in the third. Hasn't done much tonight. Still haven't used their sub in Finn McRae.
Roberts And the kick out, drives it long to that southern wing. McLean lands on his chest but touched on the way through. Hands it to Warner. Kicks Sydney into the centre square for Goulden. Shoots a hand pass to McInerney. Up over halfway, back to Errol Goulden. Hand pass forward to Heaney. It's a hot one, can't collect. Collingwood swarm in with the numbers. Moore grabs it and Heaney's got him. Ball up centre half forward for Sydney. Tim Hodges on the boundary.
Corbin, Finn McRae has been given his mouth guard. He's been told he's coming into the game, so he's getting ready. So I imagine whoever comes to the bench next for the Magpies will be fired out of this game.
Keep us updated. Thanks, Hodgie. Sydney by 6 goals. Approaching time on in the third. From the stoppage, McLean collects. Picked up by Pendlebury, and the umpire said he was legged. Advantage applied. He kicks it straight into Warner. Warner intercepts. Hand pass away to Goulden. Goulden, the smooth mover from long range. Not quite. It's marked on the behind line. McDonald again.
Yeah, he's got to take his time here, McDonald. They're just going to review it, so the umpire's taking the ball off him. But I reckon he's taken the mark.
Oh, certainly. Here we are saying certainly. Oh, it is a certainty.
He had Charlie Dean in the one-on-one on the behind line. The kick was off target, and Dean just couldn't get a hand on the footy, and McDonald got both hands around it.
Yeah, the thing is about young Dean, he's just not taking the body at any stage. He likes the air around him.
This is going to be a mark. The Sydney fans, always well supported in this neck of the woods, the South Melbourne heritage. Proudly wearing the white jumper with the red V tonight. The mark will be paid. And McDonald has it. Pressed up against the boundary line. Next to the behind post. He snaps out on the right boot. Hooks it through for his fourth. And the Swans are running all over the top of the reigning premiers. We got plenty of respect for them, and they've come from behind a heap of times in the past, but they are a mile back. 11-10 to 5-4. It's a 42-point gap in the game. Mick Moldhouse and Cameron Lang, time on in the third.
Who's going to come off for him? So he's on the ground, and
Finn McRae. I reckon it's got to be Ash Johnson. I think you were probably right, Mick, and Cal was all over it, but we will wait for confirmation from Tim Hodges, who Finn McRae has replaced. But
is he off the ground, Johnson? Yeah.
Goulden's had a big say in this third quarter.
Yeah.
His run, it was Heaney and Warner in the second term. Now Goulden in this third term. That run at class through the middle of the ground.
They put him is he in the middle, or is he going to a wing?
McRae's in the middle, lining up on Heaney. Here he is, first handball. Right in the centre, he gives it to Nick Dacos, launches a high ball, tough one to mark. Hill picks it up and then just kicks another high ball. No one can take it cleanly. Done by Florent. He then comes in and gathers to the centre square where the umpire has
infringement.
Yes, taken a free. So it might just quickly get down to Hodgie. Hodgie, what's the confirmation with the sub?
Yeah, it's Ash Johnson out of the game. The AFL official actually came over to the Collingwood bench and said somebody has to sit on the back seat of the bench. Somebody has to go out of this game. So it was Ash Johnson eventually is that player.
I was looking at the bench and Ash Johnson, I missed the free, but Collingwood's got it. And it's in the hands of the best player, Nick Dacos. He looks to deliver right at the top of the goal square. No one can take the mark. McInerney just quickly hacks it out of there. Dacos is there again. Taken high, he wins a free. Yes. Ollie Florent got him high as he slid him to the turf.
Yeah, it was there though. The left arm got over the shoulder. It was only there for a fraction of a second, but when you go high, you go high. Oh, gee, it's just there though. Right at the end.
What is there?
Oh, well, yeah, actually, no, you're right.
If you throw your head back like that, that's...
No, I'm with you, Mick.
This young superstar. He's done the Matthew Lloyd, who's sitting in the commentary box next to us. He's tossed up the grass. He's inside the centre square. He's going to kick right on 50, directly in front to the city end. He's all class. Can he help start this massive fight back? He is offline. And a big...
Too close to the man on the mark, Kel.
Yeah.
And
a big sigh of, my goodness, frustration for Nick Dacos. They trail by 41 points.
Just didn't kick through the ball.
Blakey, and the exiting kick goes out wide, and Campbell takes the mark against the boundary line right half back.
Inside 50s are 10 to 11, Collingwood's favour. I know they had a lot early, Collingwood.
A long kick from Roberts. Heads down the wing for Sydney and leaning over the back is Dean. Takes a nice intercept mark. Charlie Dean, the second gamer. He's been 2 years heavily hampered by injury. Got his start last week and first run at home today. Goes back to Howe. Loose hand pass. Puts Dean over the pump. Set up.
Well done.
Sell the dummy. Drew the defender in the air. Kicks in the middle of the ground. Fingertip it from Pendlebury. Can't reel it in. Roy bottom for Sydney. Hand pass out wide to Heaney. Between wing and half forward. Swans going inside again. Hand pass to Gordon. Gets on his preferred side. Kicks his left footer to Warner. Moore flies through. Spoils it down. And Collingwood a chance to mop up. Crisp gives it to Quaynor. Ugly kick out of defence.
And the Swans are able to pounce on it. A quick handball. Comes back to Melican and beautiful delivery. He had loose players inside 50. And from about 70 out, he's able to pinpoint Warner.
Great work by Joel Amati.
Oh, yeah.
He chased down Isaac Quaynor. Just affected the kick enough when Collingwood thought they were going to have a nice, easy exit. Created an opportunity for the turnover. And Melican, with a bit of composure with the kick inside 50, found Warner, who has been outstanding all night.
He was outstanding last week, many thought, with no Luke Parker and no Callum Mills. They'd struggle. But up has stepped Warner. Throw Gordon in the mix as well. And the Swannies have started season 2024 all business. Chad Warner's booted his third.
Yeah, one each quarter, Kel.
And they are blowing the premiers, the defending champs, away at the MCG. That margin has skittled out to 47 points, 12-10-82 to 5-5-35, with 5 goals to none in this third term.
Yeah, that's a, when you say it like that, that is a big quarter, 5 goals to none. And when you think Collingwood, well, they led at quarter time, didn't they, by a point?
Yep.
The big one, Mick, for me, 4 goals between Warner and Heaney as midfielders.
Mids, and they got him as genuine mids.
Yeah, and Heaney's had another couple of set shots that he could have added to that as well. So as mids, they've actually got forward, got dangerous and hit the scoreboard.
But the thing is that would be upsetting to Craig McRae would be those players getting forward like that have actually found space, and their players, the defensive players on them, are a mile away from them. Yep. A mile away from them. In other words, they're playing sort of too deep or the other side of them.
Crooked bounce recalled and then a ruck infringement. So free kick Collingwood. Cameron hand pass to Nick Dacos. His hand pass a little loose. Warner had it, lost it in the tackle. Collingwood back on it through Crisp. Hand pass out to Hoskin. Elliott kicks inside 50 to Elliott. He marks in that channel at right half forward, 40 out.
Well, he needs to kick this because he's had a very, very poor game so far.
Yeah, just has not found the footy at all, along with a lot of the other Collingwood forwards. It was a nice kick by Hoskin Elliott, another one who needs to get going. The quarter's coming to a close, but in this last quarter, Hoskin Elliott, Hill, Myercheck, all these players just need to start firing in that forward line.
We call it the Premiership quarter. Well, the reigning premiers haven't got a single goal to show for it. They do now, as Elliott just gets it over the fingertips on the line. Their first of the term. And Jamie Elliott joins the party, 6-5 to 12-10. It is Sydney by 41, 29 gone in the third.
He's always been a beautiful set shot at goal, Jamie Elliott. He has found it hard going.
His stats are for the game.
He's only had the 2 touches, I think, this quarter, Mick. That obviously being his first goal of the game. For the whole game,
so 4 and 2.
Yeah, had the 6 disposals. Ash Johnson, he's now subbed off, only had the 3. Myercheck's only had the 3 touches. Schultz, 7. Bobby Hill, 9. I know it's not all about disposals when you're forward line, but they just haven't found the footy or allowed the ball to be trapped in there for long periods of time when the ball's gone in.
You're right, Lee, and Sydney have had the football, and yet the tackle count is 54 to 37. And that's Sydney's way. That's a side that's leading the game quite comfortably.
Chad Warner with 23 disposals, 3 goals straight. What a night for him. So the Pies, out of the centre they go. They've got it in possession. A drop ball down there by De Goey, and falling over the top of him is Florent. De Goey goes to ground. The umpire says no. Florent was then tackled. So it'll be a ball up right on 50.
30 seconds to go. A goal here, I know it's still a long, long way back, but Collingwood can get on a roll.
Bring it back to 35 points. Darcy Cameron flicked over his head to De Goey, and then Elliott had to go through his legs. Heaney's there to pounce. Side bottom gets there first. Trapped underneath it is Roberts. Spilling clear. Who can get there? Pendlebury picks it up. It's the story of the night. He's been tackled by Hayward, who's hurt himself in that tackle.
He's as sore as a boil. Have a look at him. Dropped the arm.
He has. The left arm has been dropped, and Pendlebury got up and looked a little alarmed and concerned. In the meantime, the ball's thrown up in the air. Cameron down to Elliott, gets clean hands away, but to no one in particular. Pouncing on it is Matt Robertson. Grundy takes the mark. Falling over the top of him is Jeremy Howe. They come and chest each other. And then there's a big grin on both faces. Former teammates in Jeremy Howe and Brodie Grundy. But it is the Swans by 41 points at the MCG. Ice fans feeling a little bit of a headache coming on. Are they feeling a little nauseous, maybe?
You're not describing symptoms of hangover there, are you?
Oh, you know the symptoms then. I wondered who in the box would jump at that one, and of course it was Cameron Ling.
I've never had a real one
Did
in my
someone
life.
say
Of course, yeah.
hangover?
All I could think of was fried food and Gatorade.
12-10-82 Sydney, Collingwood 6-5-41. We've still got a quarter to go. The margin is 41 points for the Swans. Logan McDonald's booted 4, Warner with 3, and then all singles to Heaney, McInerney, Rowbottom, Papley and Amati. And for the Pies, all single goal kickers: Nick Dacos, Hill, De Goey, McCreery, Schultz and Elliott. 5 goals to 1 in that third term. They have blown them away. And it's a 41-point lead at the last change.
The reigning premiers always the focus in any competition early in the new season, but as big a story as perhaps our white-hot Sydney have been to start the new season. First up win against Melbourne. They come to the MCG and they're doing a job on the Pies here. 41 up at three-quarter time. Jane here in Albany, land of the Cameron. Great to have footy on the radio. I reckon young Dacos is the new Selwood in getting free kicks. It's working for him so far. Hi, boys. The Pies look lethargic from Brendan in Hobart and from Brett, who's a Carlton supporter in Canberra. Great to hear. Corbin and the team love hearing Mick and Lingy. Such wisdom and insights. Voices of reason. Keep it up, guys, from Brett in Canberra. Nice to hear from you. Keep them coming on the SMS. 0437 774 774. It's lopsided at three-quarter time. Collingwood, even for them, would need a miracle here. 41 points down in the second week of the season. On ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital and through the Listen app. Three-quarter time, Swans by 41. This is Grandstand AFL.
This Thursday night kicks off a big weekend of footy. And you can listen big on the ABC Listen app. AFL, NRL. And ABC Sport brings you the match between the Socceroos and Lebanon.
Good ball into the box, laid off the chest nicely. Jamie McLaren's there for the hat-trick.
The World Cup qualifier, Australia and Lebanon.
Ryan Grant heads across goal. Jamie McLaren hooks it in.
Hear it live Thursday night on the ABC Listen app. This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL season. Every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
And pass back to Moore. Still an offensive half shocking kick. Moore shanks it, kicks it straight to McDonald. Downhill. McInerney marks. Show him your tail lights. Rolls into the open goal and bangs it up into the top tier.
Hayward wins the free kick as a play on advantage. The umpire says yes. McDonald away himself in the goal square. And just like McInerney a few moments ago, he kicks it up to the third tier at the MCG.
And Cunningham just gives it some hang time. Inside 50, Heaney marks. His feet almost still on the ground as he reels that in for his first of the night. Isaac Heaney skips in, drop punt is good. Sydney stretching this one out. It's up to 37 points, Sydney's advantage. Warner intercepts. Hand pass away to Gordon. Gordon, the smooth mover from long range. Not quite. It's marked on the behind line. McDonald again. McDonald has it. Pressed up against the boundary line. He snaps out on the right boot. Hooks it through for his fourth. And the Swans are running all over the top of the reigning premiers. Call it the premiership quarter, while the reigning premiers have got a single goal to show for it. They do now. As Elliott just gets it over the fingertips on the line. Their first of the turn. It is Sydney by 41.
The 2024 AFL Premiership season.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
0437 774 774, the SMS number. It's three-quarter time at the G. You heard it there. It's all Sydney. 41 points over the reigning premiers. There's a bit to pull apart. One of the subs has been made. Finn McRae's in for Ash Johnson. Sam Wicks still unused for the Swans. Cameron Ling and Mick Malthouse make sense of it for us. Three-quarters of the way through this one.
Well, I'll say one thing. Super impressed. I didn't see Sydney being this good, and I probably didn't see Collingwood being this off again, Mick. I thought there was going to be a bit of a response from last week after losing to the Giants, but the Swans have just been outstanding. And three names I want to give you, Mick: Isaac Heaney, Errol Goulden and Chad Warner are absolute blue-chip footballers, midfielders, goal kickers, skill, everything that you exactly want from your very best players. They're the run, they're the creativity in the game breakers that have really opened things up from the Swans. Logan McDonald's kicked the goals, which has been great. Ended up with 4, but it's been those prime midfielders that have really got on top, and Collingwood just haven't had enough of a sharing of the load on the other side.
Yeah, and the art of defence, that's what's... Like, I thought Collingwood last year defended very well as a team. Yep. I just don't think that they're working anywhere near as good today. There's months and months of this season to go, but right now they've been exposed because those players you mentioned you can't give ground to, or you win the ball yourself. Well, we know that Dacos is getting it, Pendlebury's got it. Who else is getting it?
Well, the rest of the players
are getting
it, Collingwood are off half back.
Yeah, but they're not breaking that line. And when Sydney break, they're seeing space in their forward line with their workload.
Well, Logan McDonald's goals, a number of them have just been running into the goal square by himself because Collingwood have got aggressive.
Yeah.
Sydney have created a turnover, and then out the back they're racing, and it's pretty much share it round. Who wants to kick the goal?
Yeah.
The masters of the three-quarter time comeback, Collingwood. This would be something pretty special. Midway through March, 41 down against the Swans, who have been lights out at the G. Back in the middle to start the final term. Grundy down to Heaney again at Sydney with some go forward. Kicks down to the half-forward flank. Moore picks it off and then gets picked off as he tumbles a kick out wide and out of bounds. And the umpire says deliberate. As Rowbottom bumps him as he went to kick it. The ball's out of play 50 metres downfield, and the ump says there wasn't enough intent to keep that alive.
Wow.
Jeez.
Under enormous pressure.
Blakey to send it back in the same spot where Moore kicked it from. Back to half forward, off hands it spills to McRae of the Magpies. Hand pass away to Pendlebury. Short kick to De Goey. Some indecision. Hand pass back to Pendlebury. Still at centre half back. Shares it with Quaynor. Kick out in front of the benches. Josh Dacos runs onto it. 41-point lead for the Swans. Short kick to Elliott. He marks between wing and half forward. Short pass inboard to Lipinski. Lipinski from 60 out. Sends it in the Howe direction, who's been swung forward off hands. It spills to Myercheck. Can't get some free space. Kick ends up with Blakey. He's tackled, dispossessed. Inadvertent soccer from Howe goes through for a behind. And in the end, it's just one for Collingwood. 6-6 to 12-10.
Just had no system, no flow tonight. No rhythm, no timing. They still look rusty, these Pies. Staring down a 0-2 start to the season as Goulden's kick couldn't find a target, and again a 50-50 ball, and again it's another ball up.
The Swans have got to know now, though, that Collingwood are going to throw everything at going through the corridor, playing on quick, having a real crack at getting a roll on. If they can flip it the other way and keep that pressure up, there's opportunities to score and completely take this game over.
So Bobby Hill a little proppy behind the ball as the Swans win the clearance. They've got it across half-back. Lloyd's able to hit up Cunningham. Two veterans, underrated veterans of this Sydney team. Short, sharp pass. Back to Lloyd. Kicks it sideways to Blakey. Now on the southern wing they've got it. He's got Goulden all by himself. Turns, delivers. Straight down the throat of McInerney. He's 55 out, right up against the boundary line. Going to take his time and then pinpoint Papley, who was 10 metres closer to goal, and he's going to back himself in, the number 11 in the red and white, go back from 50.
So that's a really effective switch of play there, Mick, because
absolutely.
They did it quick, and they moved it forward once they'd switched it, and they were able to catch Collingwood out.
Yeah, and there weren't 10-metre kicks. But when Blakey's went 45, this one here this was a 10-metre or 15-metre kick. But they've cut Collingwood apart with this.
The 27-year-old from Bunyip on the approach. Papley from right on the paint. Misses. Through for a minor score. Swans lead it by 41.
Sue off the SMS, 0437 774 774. Listening from the Falkland Islands. Sounds like an interesting start to round 2. Thanks for the call. Technically round 1, but week 2 of the season. All the same, depending on how you want to chop it up. As Pendlebury out of the defensive arc. Hand pass to Maynard. Kicks down the boundary line. Howe gets to the drop, takes the mark.
So he's playing forward. I reckon Howe's been moved forward, you reckon?
He has. Started this final term as Howe heads back to half forward. Bobby Hill marks. Norm Smith medalist, 60 from home. Looks inside 50. Great kick. Just over the outstretched hand of Ollie Florent. And Elliott takes the mark. Left half forward for Collingwood.
Yeah, you're right, Corbs. Beautiful kick. His intent was there. As soon as he marked it, Bobby Hill was looking to wheel and go. He knows exactly how he wants it as a forward.
Yep.
You take a mark at 70 or 80 from goal. You're just hoping that player is going to turn and play on. Things open up, and it was Jamie Elliott on the lead. And already mentioned how good a set shot goal kicker this bloke is.
How many games has he won off his own boot with a late kick?
Jamie Elliott, drop punt is pure. He's kicked 2 in a row. Either side of the 3/4 time siren. And Collingwood refusing to roll over. They move to 7-6-48. Sydney 12-11-83. Swans lead cut to 35. 4.5 gone final term. Footy is the best on ABC Radio. Mint insight from Mick and Lingy. And a superb call from Kelly and the team. Cheers from the Riverwatch crew in Echuca. 0437 774 774.
Loving a few of these texts tonight, Corbs. They're very, very generous, which is nice. But this is where
always start off positive, don't they? It's a bit like Mick. By the time we get to winter, very grumpy.
No soup for you.
I never thought I'd hear Mick Malthouse quoting Seinfeld. That is
Neither did
outstanding.
I.
Yeah, they all said no. No soup for you.
Nanette would not agree with
I
you.
know, she does. She loves you.
Yeah,
I don't know
she'd
why.
have me over for soup, don't you worry. Sub for the Swans. Wicks is in as the Swans Pies go inside 50 again. First goal of the last quarter goes to Elliott, so they've got back within 35 points. Amati is the player that has been subbed out for the second consecutive week. Kicked a goal tonight. Had a chance to kick 2 or 3, really. Ball's in the hands of Markov. Goes short to Lipinski. Gee, that was not 15. Umpire said it was. Fires off the handball anyway. To Degoe from 50 if he's online. He's not, but it's been marked right on the point line by Myercheck.
Sydney are
Gone
gone to
to sleep.
sleep and retreating. Nick. They're not coming at Collingwood. They're just thinking, oh, we'll just get numbers back and we'll be fine.
What about Cunningham then? He just watched Myercheck mark it.
Myercheck just 10 metres out. Deep in that left forward pocket at the punt road end. He's asking the question. He's now a metre out of bounds. 1, 2, 3 steps, puts it through. Back-to-back goals. They couldn't, could they?
Well, they
it's
can.
back to 29 points.
Yeah, they can win.
They can win if Sydney are going to continue.
It is. It's hit shade the post.
Sorry.
Hold the phone. A lot of the Collingwood fans thought it was a goal as well, so just one in the book. Has live footy now on the southern wing. Markov over the top of it. Wanted a free, doesn't get it. Warner picks it up. He's drilled in the tackle from Maynard. Collingwood win it back. And there's a bit of pep in their step now, the Magpies.
Has he hurt himself?
Maynard,
He has.
Oh, it's only... That was through that tackle. He is a sensational player. I know he comes in a bit of criticism, Maynard, but you talk about a heart and soul player. He's it.
So the margin not 29 because that was not a goal. It shaved the post. A decision late. The margin 34 points. Swans lead.
A kick from side bottom across the ground to Markov. It's a crowded forward 50. And Markov is just going to lay it up. Cameron, can he get hands to it? No, comes back to him, trying to squeeze a kick out. Blakey charging through for the Swans. Hand pass away to McInerney. Shucks the would-be tackle from Schultz. Pass to half-back, finds Warner. And he leaps up, takes the mark on the back flank. Sydney want to settle this game down in a hurry. Short kick Finds Patley on the back flank, and he's going to go short and wide out to Roberts.
I don't know if they do want to settle it down. I think the way they can put this game to bed is the same way as they've started each quarter, is find space, use the player, and get the ball in there deep. There it is.
Down when you get a chance.
Absolutely. I don't understand why sides don't want to put the foot on the throat and press like, you know what.
Gordon, precise as always, finds Jordan between wing and half forward, kicks inside 50. Cameron takes the
free kick off the ball,
free.
Yeah, and
it's going to McLean. His jumper was being held in the marking contest. And it's going against Charlie Dean, and the free kick for McLean, left half forward, 35 out.
Yeah, it was there all the way because he's grabbed hold of his arm. You can't keep a player off the ball. And of course, I think both players got their arm.
Oh, he's got
a jumper. Once the backline player puts it on the forward, it's all over. The umpire is going to award it.
He kicks this, and despite Collingwood's surge, it'll be back to 40 points. McLean moves in. Drop punt is good. And the Swans keep the reigning premiers at bay. Back to 40 points. Sydney's advantage, 8.5 gone in the final term. The Swans 13-11-89. Collingwood 7-7-49. On ABC Sport, Cameron Lang and Mick Malthouse.
This is going to seem strange considering the Swans just kicked a goal and they're 40 points up. But even I didn't love that play.
No.
The mark was going to be taken easily by Darcy Cameron. If there was no give
2v1.
Skip it away. Yeah. So even the way they built it up didn't feel right. And down the other end of the ground, they're all just running back inside defensive 50 and Collingwood are able to pick a few apart. So I just don't think the Swans have started the way that they got themselves in this position in the first place. And so I'm with you, Mick. I want them to keep playing with that aggressive nature for another 15 minutes. And then they can put the...
Lingy, do you think there's a lot being said about Collingwood come at the last quarter and they can win games from anywhere? Do you think that might be a psychological thing with opposition going, look, we've got to retreat?
Yep.
I just don't get it.
So the bounce favours Crisp. He's trying to manufacture something. Tackled by a couple of Swans. Gets his handball backwards to Nick Dacos, who gives it to the run of Maynard, who comes off half's back, delivers straight down the throat of Jordan Ngoe. Still a long way out. Dabs it, wedges that kick over the top. He was looking for but couldn't quite find Chris. Now a 50-50 ball. A couple of big tackles being laid. Jordan off centre half back. Oh, he's handballed to Papley, who was on his backside. Grabs it and handballs up to Matt Roberts. Clever by Tom Papley, and then they go by hand all the way out to Gordon on the wing, and he goes by that lethal left laser foot to Heaney. Heaney inside 50, wicks the sub, top of the goal square, marks uncontested.
Raffle it though. There was about 3 Swans players to 1 Collingwood player as that ball was going to go inside forward 50. Again, that's the sort of footy that's got them into the 40-point lead. Aggressive ball use. Great kick by Gordon initially, then hard run, options galore.
So Sam Weeks has just come on the ground into the action, and he celebrates with 2 clenched fists as he slots that over the goal umpire's hat. A goal last week for Weeks, a goal tonight, and that margin back out to 46 points. 14-11-95, Collingwood 7-7-49. Still 12 minutes to play in this contest.
Well, Kel, can I just say, we might be able to get it right, Lingy and myself, in regard to will Collingwood make a comeback, but most of the crowd does. And have a look, it's already thinned unbelievably. So I'm suggesting that they know.
They know, don't they? You're right.
Look at them. The aisles are packed, aren't they? It's going slow-mo when the aisle's heading out.
Heading one direction.
Yep.
And the Sydney chant, the Swans
you can hear it.
Trying to get that going just to stir them up as they're leaving.
Sydney by 46. Crooked bounce in the middle from Plugger. Great call, ABC commentary. Beats any other option. Go the Swans. Thanks, Plugger.
Not the one, is it?
Wouldn't have thought so. But I'm not ruling it out. As Pendlebury tumbles a kick out of the centre square down to half forward.
He's a good Belgrade boy.
McCreary knocks it away to Hoskin Elliott. Long kick inside 50 for Collingwood. Punched away by Melican at the back. Spills to Cameron. Hand pass away to McRae. Beats one tackle. Gives it back to Cameron. Sweeping hand pass to the top of the goal square. Easy break up for Roberts. He punches it into the behind post. And throw in forward pocket for Collingwood. And from Tommy and JP. Just up on the Goulburn at Molesworth, having a fish. How good's footy? Go the Bombers.
I know what he's fishing for up there.
I think we all echo that sentiment. 0437 774 774.
Speak for yourself. Boundary throw in. Here we go. Collingwood's end. Crisp with the left footer. Can he squeeze it through? Blakey with both hands is able to fist it through a metre out. And it's a behind. 50 for the Pies. Plays 95 for the Swans. Blakey on the kicking. Collingwood by a point at quarter time. Sydney by 18 at half time.
Good kick.
Great.
41 points at three-quarter time. They lead it by 45. Heaney has had a blinder.
Heaney, Goulden, Warner. I'm not sure who I'm giving the best on ground to, but they've all been superb.
Here goes Goulden down the line. Oh, clever flick back there. I don't think he meant it, Haywood.
He's caught him
It'll
for
be
a
a throw, yes. Dean to throw. And so Dean will take the free kick. Charlie Dean, the 22-year-old defender.
He needs to be played more often. If they're going to keep him in the side, he's keeping Frampton out, so they obviously see something.
He'll be thinking 2 games I've played, 2 Magpies losses. You know, I reckon the Magpies' second loss last year came in June. This year their second loss is in March. Bizarre. So the Swans in possession. Blakey's got it in his hands. The yellow Sharon matching his yellow boots. On the outer wing, and he delivers straight down the throat of Nick Dacos. Hasn't been the highest standard of football. There's been a lot of skill errors. Collingwood looking a little rusty at times. The perceived pressure really getting to them.
Pies also lost 3 of their last 5 regular season games last year, so they're 2 wins, 5 losses in their last 7 in the regular season. Whatever that's worth after running through September. Sydney win it back. Goulden has got a laser of a left boot. What a night he's had as he hits another target here. Mark taken by Haywood.
McInerney free at centre forward if they spot him.
Swans by 45, 15 minutes into this final term. A load up and long kick inside the forward 50 from Haywood. Hits the deck. Fox went without it. Picked up by Cox. Kicks out of the defensive arc. And there's Goulden again trying to win the one-on-one. He wanted the mark. It's not paid. Jams it on the boot back inboard. Picked up by Crisp. Tackled by McInerney. Taken to ground. Roberts moved out of the way by Cameron. And the ump says, I'll have it.
Now, I see the umpires aren't looking at stats again. I'll be very interested to see how they vote this game. We'll know, of course, in September, but...
Umpire Roseberry tosses it up. Cox wins it down. Offhand, though, spills back to McLean. His opposing ruckman kicks to Heaney. Beats his direct opponent, Charlie Dean, 1 out in the cage. And he'll have a set shot here, 20 out, dead in front.
I reckon they hung that kid out to dry last week. I reckon they're doing it again. You don't have him on Heaney.
No.
You put Maynard on him.
Not, and especially not while Heaney's the deepest one there. So it's either Maynard or Darcy Moore, who are up higher, almost doing nothing. They had to look over their shoulder and think, hang on, we don't want this matchup.
No, you just can't do that. They hung him out last week. He was absolutely surprised he stayed in the side.
Heaney, drop punt for a couple. The celebration continues. They crack the tongue, the Swans. And the margin is out to 51 points over the reigning premiers. 15-11-101. Collingwood 7-8-50. The G is emptying fast. The Owls are full. And the Collingwood fans are out of here. Sydney by 51, 16 gone final term.
Well, Mick, we said it. If Isaac Heaney could turn into a player who'd get about 25 touches and 2 goals, well, he's had 27.
Yeah.
And kicked 2 goals too.
Contested possessions 12.
Yeah, big contested possessions, 4 clearances, 6 inside 50s, 4 tackles. That sort of perfect balance you want from a mid-forward.
Have a look at their top 3 players, all midfielders.
Yeah, Goulden with 27 and Chad Warner with 25 and the 3 goals as well, and all huge score involvements as well.
And 17 inside 50s between them, and that's significant, and also 5 goals between them.
And the crowd's gone from about 80,000 to 30 in a matter of 5 minutes. In fact, the biggest home and away crowd the Swans have ever won in front of is 65,000. That was the night against Collingwood here back in 2013 when Adam Goodes, that famous night, for reasons when he was abused by the teenager. A moment many of us won't forget and will remember. Pies have got it. They kicked it straight to Grundy. Crisp to Grundy. They're lining up for more. Here's Sydney. And the stabbing pass lands on the chest of Logan McDonald.
Nick, we praised Mason Cox in the first quarter when he took a couple of marks behind the ball. I reckon he's dropped about 4 marks tonight where simple, just stand under it, mark the footy, that's your job. And it's hurt the team almost every single time.
Now, I'm just watching the replay behind the goals, and I'm watching Darcy Moore, who's playing on McDonald. He's given him 15 metres, trying to anticipate where the ball's going through, and he's going to pay another penalty.
So Logan McDonald directly in front, lining up for a handful of goals. He's a beautiful kick, but not on this occasion. Hangs it out to the right. He's got 4 goals to his name this evening, and the margin is 52 points.
And I'll come back to Darcy Moore. He's the captain. He's got to set an example. It's okay to be aggressive, but when the ball's coming into the back half, you've got to stand your ground on your opponent.
Pies coming out of defence. Quaynor hits up McCreary. Marks on the wing. Thursday night, Collingwood play St Kilda. Spunts game here at the MCG. So the Saints and the Pies. Next Thursday night, McCreary inside 50, backpedaling. Myercheck got hands to it, no mark. Falls to Grundy. Another sweet night for him. Hand pass to Roberts. Kicks down the wing, and McInerney had hands to it. Mark not paid.
Wow.
Says keep it rolling. Quaynor high up and under inside 50. Cox competes in the air, no mark. Spills out of congestion. Here's Elliott, collects. Hand pass to Nick Dacos, threw himself forward, wanted a free. The ump's not buying that. And Heaney again comes away with it. Hand pass to McInerney. Clever. Jordan just paddles it on. His teammates' advantage and Wicks the sub. Hand pass back to Jordan, and McCreary runs him out of bounds. Throw in here, 60 out from the Collingwood goal. Sydney play Essendon next week, so that's Saturday night in Sydney. Swans about to start 2-0. A familiar place for them. It'll be the 4th year in a row that they'll start 2 wins, 0 losses through the first fortnight of the season.
Who'd you tip to win the flag this year, Corbin?
I'm with you, Cal. I actually had the Swannies. But we're only 6 games into the year, so there's...
Who'd you tip for to make the grand final?
Brisbane, Sydney. You?
Brisbane, Sydney.
We've been copying each other's homework.
Mason Cox gives it off to Hoskin Elliott. He kicks deep into that left forward pocket, and it's knuckled over the boundary line.
I think we're a little happier with Sydney than we are Brisbane, though, for the early data that's coming.
Nick, are you going to put it on public record? Who have you tipped for the flag this year?
Well, I had Collingwood playing GWS.
Okay. Lingy?
But I think I'll change it.
You can't change it.
I can change it.
They're the two I have.
Right now.
You had Collingwood as well?
Yes.
And GWS?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they've been copying each other's work.
Need to get better supervision in this box. The front row and the second row, and easily to lean over each other's shoulder.
Yeah.
Maths exams back in year 11.
So used to do it.
Boundary throw in. Inside 50 here for Collingwood. And it's Sydney through Robbie Fox to Gordon, out wide. Plenty of time to bend over, pick it up, has McCartan, and he goes long down the line in a one-on-one with Haywood and Darcy Moore and Moore. Thumps it into the second row of the Shane Warne stand.
So he can do that when he's running shoulder to shoulder, but if you want to give ground like he has been for most of the night, then you pay a penalty. And it's like Harris Andrews last week sat off Mackay, and guess what? Bingo, goal.
Boundary throw in. Grundy palms it down to Warner. Kicks the Swans down to half forward. They lead by 52 in the final term here. Picked up by Markov of the Magpies. Hand pass away to side bottom. Kicks back inboard. Dangerous kick. Lloyd punches it forward for Sydney. Needed to be clean. Hoskin Elliott, and was. Swings his kick across the half-back line to Josh Dacos. Oh, he's crashed into by Campbell as he sends the ball down to half-forward. Here's Schultz, the former Docker. Short pass to Myercheck. Kick 5 the last time they met. Just the one for him tonight as he looks trying to find Cameron in the forward pocket, and McCartan whacks it away from him.
He plays a really important role, McCartan. He covers some ground. He's a terrific runner, really good aerobic athlete. And now he's got the body, the strength to match it with some of the big key forwards.
And his confidence too. Yeah. He's no brother there, so he's, it's changed the dynamics a bit.
Big tackle laid there by Maynard on Matt Roberts as the Sydney chant goes up around the MCG.
The Cleaners are in it at the moment, aren't they?
Usually it's the Collingwood one. The ball is at the punt road end, right in front of the Swans cheer squad. A ball up And Cox gets it down to Myercheck to Josh Dacos with a fumble and over the boundary line. The build-up was huge, the hype, the unfurling of the premiership flag. First appearance at the MCG for the Premiers, and it's like someone's pricked a balloon. Atmosphere well and truly gone as Cox gets it down to Nick Dacos, and right on the line, Paddy McCartan's there to make sure that it's spoiled over the goal line.
I mentioned Brodie Grundy has a chance to exact some revenge on the Pies tonight. They sent him on his way, went to Melbourne, didn't work there. Beat his old team in the Demons last week, and chance to beat his old team in Collingwood tonight. Well, they're going to 51 up in the final term. I've got a stat for you, lads. And Kel, you'll love this. 51st player Grundy to play for 3 clubs in 3 seasons. But there's only been 6 players that have played their first 2 games against their first 2 former clubs. More on that in a moment. Turnover here at half forward. Magpies win it back. Nick Dacos, hand pass inboard, free kick for a hold here. Josh is going to get it. Josh Dacos at left half forward. Brodie Grundy tonight becomes the first player since, and only the second in VFL-AFL history, to start his journey at a 3rd club with wins against his previous 2.
Is that right?
The other player was Peter Caven from Adelaide back in 1996, who started with wins over Sydney and Fitzroy.
Yeah.
And now Brodie Grundy is going to do it tonight. Meanwhile, a bit of a late consolation goal for Josh Dacos as he slams through one for Collingwood. It's all a little obligatory from here, though. Sydney by 45 points. 24 gone in the final term. Josh Dacos pops for his first of the night. 8-9-57 the Magpies. Sydney 15-12-102.
Nick, something tells me that Corbyn's had an international flight recently. Time on his
I was just thinking of all the things I did over summer compared to Corbyn. Stuck in his little apartment there with his lamp on.
What other things you got to tell us, Corby?
No, that was the best one I had.
It is a beauty, though.
It is a beauty, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
I'm sure everyone was thinking, I thought, that's an unusual fixture. Grundy's got Melbourne and Collingwood the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And, I would have just assumed it was the first time it's ever happened, but sure enough, Peter Caven, shout out to you.
Crowd's been posted at 78,933. So that means that this is going to be the Sydney Swans' biggest win, home and away win, in front of their biggest crowd. So
78.9, is it?
Yes, it is 78,933. Not quite as big as the 83,000, but it'll be the biggest home and away crowd that the Swans have ever won in front of. So a record night for them. And then they get ready to host the Bombers next Saturday night at the SCG. 3.5 minutes to play. Bounce in the centre. Pies have got possession. Markov's kick looking for side bottom.
Gee, it's just watching the Pies skill errors, Nick.
They're mounting, aren't they?
And remember I said to you, Lingy, last year you couldn't identify Collingwood's bottom 5?
No.
They're so identifiable tonight, and not only because of being beaten by their opponents, but their skill level is putting their other teammates under pressure.
Boundary throw in 70 metres around from Collingwood's goal. Cox works it to Lipinski, off to Quaynor. Awkward kick on the side, goes deep, and Matt Roberts is there to fist it over the boundary line. And Swans players come in and celebrate with the young gun. Look at that, he's getting about 5 or 6 players as if he's kicked a goal.
See, Kel, that kick in there is typical of Collingwood tonight, just hoping that someone takes the mark. There hasn't been a lot of good direction towards that 30 metre where players can mark it and have a shot.
Flick back in, Cox assumes front position, McLean down to Lloyd. Florent involved with the kick. There was a blatant shove by Markov in the back of Papley.
He's been ordering tonight, Markov.
And Papley takes the free at half back. He goes short to Matt Roberts, who was the rising star for the opening round. Short to Lloyd. A 30-year-old who feels like he's been around for an eternity. A rookie pick back in 2013.
It's a good stat, Kel.
Thanks, Mick. Finally, someone acknowledges I do a little bit of homework.
Well, I know what coaches like, Kel. You've got to give yours up after 1 year.
I did. I
didn't bribe my players with ice creams either, like you.
No, I did about 20 games of basketball coaching. We were about 2 wins, 18 losses. I had your 718 written up on the fridge, and I pulled the pin at 20. So
With a nervous 690s on the countdown.
Just turning my hair grey. My hair's more important than my child playing basketball.
The Pies going inside 50. McRae kicks it and manages to find Darcy Cameron in a bit of room, who marks it left half forward.
14-8 inside 50s. Corby?
You might be able to pick up. The sting's kind of gone out of it a little bit, but it's 45 points the margin, the Swans over the Pies. There's a whole lot to work our way through in the post-match, though. We're going right through to 11 o'clock local time, which is 50 minutes from now. Reaction from the rooms, and there's 10 teams that are about to start their season over the next 2 days, so we've got a whole lot to work our way through there. Here's Darcy Cameron. He moves in on the set shot. It's out to the left, but he squeezes it through. Couple of late goals for the Magpies. Trying to put a pretty face on it after they found themselves 51 down earlier in the term. It's now Sydney by 39. 28 gone final term. Collingwood 9-9-63. Sydney 15-12-102.
How have you seen that battle? Darcy Cameron versus Brodie Grundy.
Oh, so, well, both have held their own. I don't think that one's been more dominant. In fact, I'd say that Grundy this week hasn't been as effective as last week, but I don't think Cameron's forward work has complemented. Like, he's kicked that goal there coming from the forward line, but probably mid-range. I don't know. The stoppages seem to be fairly even.
Yeah, it's been more the Sydney midfielders away from everything have taken over the game. But yeah, I'm with you. And I mean, the combination of Cameron and Cox just hasn't worked.
No, Cox is very interesting. You run across the line here, runs across and puts his knee up. It's unbelievable. And
that's it.
He's been finally penalised for using those legs, the size 22 boots.
So that was in the ruck contest. So McLean takes the free kick just behind the centre circle, flares it out wide to the southern wing where Jordan's got it. Works down the wing. Nice mark taken by Campbell in front of Markov.
Well, I watched Markov then. I don't know. He ran away from his man and left a gap behind him. He's been marked.
Campbell, the left footer. Looking for McDonald over the top comes McLean. McLean picks up his own ball, gives it to Gordon, who's tackled by McCreery. Back to Heaney. Is there a late goal here for the Swannies to celebrate? Good hands. Oh, it was a throw, was it?
Rowbottom was lining up for a nice one.
Wicks has been deemed to throw it out to Rowbottom, who was going to spin and turn, and it's a 50.
I think probably someone just said, I don't think it was.
I saw the replay. I didn't think it was.
So McCreery, it's McRae. Finn McRae, the sub, gives it off to Nick Dacos, and they move it quickly. Trying to get another late one here to Bobby Hill. His kick is totally offline. Misses Nick Dacos completely. And pouncing on it is Jordan. A give and go. Hayward's involved. They've got it in the centre of the ground now. They had it. They lost it. Josh Dacos. It's just a messy passage of play. They're mucking around with it. Bobby Hill to Maynard. And then Maynard is able to hit up his teammate. All by himself, Lockie Schultz will have a set shot. 45-degree angle, only about 40 metres out.
If he kicks this, brings it back to 33 points.
So it happened last week. They kicked 4 of the last 5 goals.
I reckon it'll annoy John Lamar.
Oh, yeah.
Siren sounds. There'll be a late set shot here to Lockie Schultz, and it's just a question of what the margin is. It currently sits at 39. Swans prevail. Will it be 38 or will it be 33? He puts it through for a major, but there's not too much to celebrate for the Pies this evening at the G. Swans by 33 points. They join the Blues as undefeated after the first 2 games. And Collingwood start the season a little shaky. Are they suffering maybe a dreaded hangover?
Shake down the thunder from the sky. Whether the odds be great or small, Swans will go in and win overall. While our loyal Swans are marching onwards to victory.
Final score at the MCG this evening in front of the biggest crowd for a Sydney Swans win on the road. It is 15-12-102 to Collingwood 10-9-69, 78,933 in the house. They led by 1 at quarter time, rather. It was Collingwood by 1 at quarter time. Swans by 18 at half time, by 41 after a run of 6 in a row. Got out by 52. They win by 33.
Cheer, cheer the red and the white. Honour the name.
scorers this evening. Logan McDonald finished with 4, Chad Warner finished with 3, and Isaac Heaney with 2. Singles to the sub-Wicks, McLean, McInerney, Rowbottom, Papley and Amati, who was subbed out for the Pies. Jamie Elliott with a couple in that second half. And then singles to Nick Dacos, Josh Dacos, Darcy Cameron, Schultz, McCreary, DeGoey and Hill.
There's a lot to cheer about for the Sydney Swans, so a 33-point win tonight. They start 2-0 again. It's the 4th straight year that they've done that, and they spoil the Magpies party. And they came in big number again tonight, as Cal mentioned, 78,933 in attendance. They unfurled the premiership flag, and yet it's Sydney who are writing their own story. They're 2 wins from 2 starts. They beat Melbourne at home. Now they take down the reigning premiers. In round 1, week 2 of the season, they led by as many as 51 in that final term, and in the end get home by 33. Cameron Ling and Mick Moldhouse, the reigning premiers, are 0-2. The Sydney Swans, who played off in a grand final the year before last, find themselves 2-0. They haven't missed the finals, starting 2-0 since the year 2000. So generally it's a pretty good platform for teams, and especially clubs as good as the Swans.
Yeah, and they were ultra impressive tonight, Corbs. Their pressure early caused Collingwood to turn the ball over, uncharacteristic turnovers from the Pies, or going back to last year anyway. And then their blue chip absolute stars just stood up when it mattered most. Errol Goulden, Isaac Heaney, Chad Warner were just superb through the middle of the ground. They were clean with their disposals, Mick. They were sharp. They ran and didn't just get possessions for the sake of getting possessions. They actually got damaging ones and broke the game open. And Heaney kicked 2, Warner kicked 3, and I reckon Errol Goulden set up a whole heap of them as well. He had 11 score involvements. It was those 3 in particular that just was the cream on top. And I know Logan McDonald ended up with 4 goals, but I think he could say thank you very much to those 3 blokes for
absolutely
breaking the game open. They were excellent again. The Swans, I think last week they won a hard-fought, scrappy game against Melbourne.
Yeah, it was.
Tonight's win was just real class.
But the humidity last week was extraordinary. Because I kept on asking how they go on the boundary, was it dewy? He said, no, it's just the sweat, and that's... And that made it a little bit harder to hold. There was a lot of drop marks and so forth. But the game style was identical. Pressure the opponent, get numbers there, get numbers in the back up, and then run the ball. But also, what I was impressed in tonight, Lingy, was the fact that they were able to transfer that ball around and have not use it 5 or 6 times before they get the forward line, 3 or 4 times, and the 4th one would go and find a target in that forward line. Collingwood just couldn't match it, which is unusual because we watching them last year, we just didn't think that this is the way they'd play.
They've got quite a dynamic team, haven't they, the Swans? Because the 3 I've reeled off, but you throw in Florent and McInerney and even Blakey off half-back, Jordan's come in, Papley's a little bit on ball, a little bit forward. They're all quite quick and skillful, cover the ground really well, break the game open. So they're quite dynamic with the way they play, and it's as you're saying, they're not messing around with it, chip. It's, we've got an opportunity, let's go there with some speed and put the opposition defence under pressure.
Absolutely. And the best sides I've watched, and we've watched around in a bit, is the speed of what side. Like, there's no question Gold Coast, we know about that speed. But last week we did the game with GWS, and the speed of movement caught sides that are aggressive backline get caught out when there's one that you don't go backwards, and sides are now working. You don't go backwards against Collingwood, but you go forward, and you go forward with speed because the backline is almost in your face. And if you get the ball over the back, so it doesn't matter if someone kicks a lazy 3 or 4 goals because they're over the back. That's just good play by generally the midfield working hard.
He kicked 4 up front tonight, Logan McDonald, but I'm not sure his teammates knew he wasn't there at the closing stages as he was doing his television interview on field, and the rest of the boys headed down the race, which is where we are about to go as well. And join Tim Hodges as the Swans make their way into the room. Sydney by 33 over the Pies. Hodgie.
Well, there's just a few family and friends in the rooms, but the players are making most of the noise. I reckon this meant more than just 4 points tonight. Coming to Melbourne Friday night, beating the reigning premiers on the night they unfurl the flag. I think this meant plenty. And all of that noise is the players. That's amazing. John Longmire, the last person in, and here goes the song. Just standing next to Taylor Adams, who is clapping loudly. What a mixed emotions this night is. Now, John Longmire is gathering them all in one. We're going to have Nick Blakey join us in just a matter of minutes, guys.
Looking forward to that. Thanks, Hodgie. 15-12-102. The Sydney Swans have beaten Collingwood 10-9-69. Tim Hodges in the winners' rooms for more reaction in a moment. Swans by 33. Corbin Middlemass, Kelly Underwood, Cameron Ling and Nick Malthouse with you upstairs after the Swans have spoiled the Magpies party here tonight, unfurling their premiership flag, the 16th flag that Collingwood have won, trying to go back-to-back for the first time in 88 years. They'll have to overturn an 0-2 start. And you mentioned during the call at one stage, Cal, that Collingwood, their second loss, I think you said, came in June last year. This time last year, their season hadn't even started, so they didn't start until March 17th. It's currently the 15th of March, and they're 2 back already.
Their second loss came King's birthday.
Yep.
Was it Queen's birthday last year? I think it was King's birthday.
Just King's.
Yeah, against Melbourne by about 4 points. That was their second loss.
Wow.
And what is it? March 15, and they've already had their second loss.
We haven't seen St Kilda play yet. They play tomorrow night, but that's who the Pies have got next Thursday night. Just if, sorry Collingwood fans, something was to happen there, the following week is Brisbane at the Gabba.
Wow.
So their season could get nasty real quick.
There's a bit on the Collingwood front, but we want to focus on the winners because it was a hell of a night for the Sydney Swans. They start 2-0 on the young season. Tim Hodges back in the winners' rooms.
Corbin, Nick Blakey has been good enough to come over to join us. That was a hell of a night for your footy club, mate.
Yeah, I think we set ourselves for it during the week. You know, they're the benchmark team in the competition, and we knew we had to be right at our best. And the boys are extremely good tonight. Our pressure and our fight. You know, from the get-go, we didn't kick straight early, but you know, it sort of broke open towards the end. And we knew if we just kept at it, then we'd be right, and we come away with it. Every game's important, but did this one mean a little bit more with the unfurling the flag? Just the noise that the team, and I'm talking about the 23 players made as you came into these rooms, is something I haven't heard before. Like, it felt like it was more than just 4 points. Yeah, I mean, you know, these ones are extremely special. You set yourselves to be a good team at the start of the year, and, you know, we knew that we had a really tough first 2 games in Melbourne and Collingwood, and that if we could set ourselves up really nicely and, you know, hopefully win those 2 games, then, you know, give just this group a bit of belief that, you know, we are good enough to match it with these best teams. And, you know, we've done great work the first 2 weeks, but it only gets tougher from here. We appreciate your time. I'll send you upstairs, Cameron Ling and Nick Malthouse.
Nick, well done on the win. Terrific performance. What a game you guys played. Did you feel like in your preparation for this game that if you got that 1 or 2 kicks through what Collingwood set up, you could really get them out the back? Because that's kind of where you hurt them as far as those easier goals.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Collingwood, you know, have always had great pressure. That's, you know, what they pride themselves on, but so do we. And, you know, the game, you know, this day and age is always one in the contest. And, you know, our midfielders and our forwards really surged it extremely well. And, you know, they do get quite aggressive and play an aggressive defence. So if we could win it in the contest, we knew that we'd have chances going forward. And, boys got on the end of them.
We saw at different times tonight a few mistakes from both teams, because that's just naturally what happens early on in the season as you get accustomed to those games. But when we looked out there and saw Goulden, Heaney or Warner get involved in the play, they just always seem to be clean, dynamic, breaking the game open. It must be nice to have those sorts of guys running around to the middle of the ground for the Swans.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you know, 3 of the best midfielders in the comp, and we're lucky enough to have them all in our team. So, you know, they're extremely good players and big game players as well. And tonight was a big game, and all those 3, you know, played extremely well and just about won the game for us. So they were unreal.
Yeah, well done, Nick. Just on your preparation, and I'm not talking about just you, but your team's preparation. You said you set yourself. What were the main takeaways from, say, the meetings to come to this game? And we know they're a good football side. We know you're a good football side. But was there something specific that you were working on during the week or talking about during the week?
Oh, I think we respect Collingwood enormously, and as I said, we set ourselves for it, but we really focus on what we do well. As I said, Collingwood are a great team, but we think we're a good team as well. So we focused on what we did well, and we pride ourselves on our pressure, our contest, the way we set the ground up. We knew if we just did our game well, then that was going to be good enough, and it was tonight.
Yeah. Now, let's look at last year where you finished and where you are at the moment. Now, it's very early days, but what's the most significant difference between last year, not necessarily how you finished, but where you finished compared to what your side looks like this year? Is there something different to it? Have you concentrated on speed or ball movement or transferring play? You just seem to be using the ground a lot more.
Yeah, I suppose we haven't, in all honesty, changed a hell of a lot. We've obviously played pretty similar for the last 3 years, but this time last year we had injuries to some incredibly important players in Tom McCartan. Paddy McCartan went out, Ramps was down. Really important key position players that are just so hard to fill. And, this year we've been able to have those boys on the track full pre-season. There's been about 40 boys on the track for the pre-season, and really try and get our continuity up. And, we know we're a good ball movement side, but, we really pride ourselves on our defence, and we can train that during the week, and it holds us in good stead.
And what about Brodie Grundy? How's he settled into the side? How are you finding him?
Oh, he's been amazing.
What sort of bloke is he around the ground, around the club?
It's actually hard to explain. He's just himself. If you get to know Brodie, it's hard to explain what he's like, but that's what we love about him. He's a different cat, but all the boys absolutely love him, and he loves all the boys just as much. And we're incredibly lucky to have him at our football club, and he's making us a hell of a better team. So we're very lucky.
I've got a bit of a random one for you, Nick. Did you realise the ball had hit the spider cam? And did you know what was going on?
No, I had no. When did that? I don't even know that happened.
Was it the
second
quarter? Yeah, the ball went up high and just all of a sudden dropped out of the sky. And so you had no idea?
Shows how switched on I was, isn't it?
It was. I think it was half forward, Nick, for the Swans. So it was an inside 50, and it hit the camera, fell short, and I think Braden Maynard was able to bang it back in the other direction. Just on this team, so I think you've got 15 guys here tonight that played in the 2022 grand final loss to Geelong. Do you look at it, Nick, as this is the continuation of a multi-year journey the team's on, or do you look at every new season as this is its own isolated story?
It's a good question. We've been on this roller coaster for, a few years now. Obviously, played finals last year, but probably didn't have the season that we really wanted to. And we really thought we'd improved over the summer. And, I think every year is its own sort of story. And, it's hard to say what the rest of the year is going to hold for us, but it's going to be an exciting one, that's for sure.
And a nickname as well. I know it feels like more people in footy call you the Lizard rather than calling you Nick at any particular stage. Where does it come from? Do you like it? How did it stick?
It started, I reckon, my first day at the footy club, and it stuck, and I quite like it now. It's almost weird if someone calls me Nick, so I actually don't think I even respond to Nick anymore. It's just Lizard or Liz. So
appreciate your time. Go well until we chat again, Nick. Great start to the season, or Lizard.
Thank you, guys.
Liz, come on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nick. Nick Blakey with us from the Sydney Swans rooms. What a player he's becoming, and he's got a few mates too. They look like they're going to be a force again. They're always good, Sydney, and they've got
a good breeding ground. They're able to get. I think they exploit the rules pretty well as far as those players up there. Well, they do. I just think that, the little zones are very protected, and they have done very, very well. Mark Browning was a great half-back flanker. Remember him coming off that half-back line on just that left foot, just bang it 50, 60 metres. And that's before we had good run, but we didn't have brilliant run. Now you've got this, I think football now just a little bit quicker, virtually on every line. He comes off that half-back line, and you know that if he's got the football on the back 50, he's going to put the ball over the centre, and you can start leading.
And he's smart enough, Nick Blakey, to know he doesn't go long every time with that one. He shapes as though he's going to go long and then can still pull a kick, so it keeps people guessing. No, they've been excellent. These wins, you said it earlier about how important early wins are, but for the Swans, these are pure gold. When you've got Luke Parker and Callum Mills not playing, you could be forgiven. Maybe you drop this one.
A new ruckman coming in too, trying to find his way around.
Yeah. Do you get to round 5 at 1 and 4 and 2 and 3 and then get those players starting to roll back in? But setting their season up with a 2-0 start and looking to build on it, I think it's the Bombers next Saturday night at the SCG.
And the two sides they've played.
Yeah, good, really good team.
There's a Premiers and 5th place,
Yeah. I think we were here. We all worked the Sydney loss final last year, didn't we, against Carlton, and the ground was shaking that night. Just an amazing atmosphere, and the Swans were in it up to their eyeballs and fell short. And talk about a team that was chasing to get back to the mountain, and the moment they had the year before in the 2022 decider where they got punked by Geelong, come back last year, heartbreaking exit from the finals, and then trying to butter up again and go through a whole pre-season. Well, they've come out hissing to start the new year. They won that game in difficult conditions up in Sydney last week, and they were too much for Collingwood tonight. They outplayed them.
And to think of last year, I think there was a point midway through the year where it looked for all money like Geelong were going to play finals and the Swans were going to miss, the 2 grand finalists. And then it completely flipped. Geelong fell away, they miss out, and the Swans get there, and as you said, got really close. But they got there and got close with Isaac Heaney being well off his best, and I think Chad Warner probably being off his best compared to the year before, the grand final year. Goulden was superb, obviously, but when your very best midfield type players are either maybe hurt a little bit, just a little bit off their very best year, I probably underestimated, thinking about them coming into this year, that those guys will return to absolute quality. And it was a pretty impressive performance last year, even just to get to the finals, considering where they were mid-year.
Now, we know that a lot of people left the ground, so do Collingwood people listen to us after the game? What do they do? So,
like the broader population, I think.
Yeah, well, I think I'm just going to say, let's look at Mitchell, who didn't get a game. Probably wouldn't have made 1 ounce of difference to this game. I don't think, with the way the pace of that new, energetic midfield.
Are you about to jump to the Pies?
No, what I'm saying is, I just think there comes a time when players fall off the cliff.
Yep.
Or they slowly absorb because they're a key position player and you can hang on, hang on, and have the occasional game. I'm just looking at what can Collingwood do now to change. Well, I think it was Keller was saying about the fact that they've lost the first 2 games in some years since the Premiers have lost the first 2 games. So all's not dead, but just looking at the way they went about it, there's something outside of. I don't think that they're anywhere near as fierce at the football, but it's round 2, so we'll give them a bit of room there. Where do they improve this side? McRae now coming in as a bench player has to play. In my mind, has to play, and they've got to play him now. If they think he's the best next kid coming through, they've got to play him 4 or 5 in a row to see how he goes.
Finish with the 8 disposals tonight.
I think the improvement, Mick, doesn't come from outside the team coming in. It's on a number of players to improve their own performance. And some of their very best players are down a bit. Josh Dacos is one who's just down a little bit. Yeah.
But I'll throw again, I know we've been through this exercise, but I'll throw this to you again, Lingy, that so who's going to kick the goals if Mychek's not kicking the big goals? Look, Johnson today, this is his 2nd game in a row, and on the performances of both games, he should not be in the side next week.
No, I agree completely with that.
But do they play, like they got away with playing...
but a sharper team effort, Mick, across the middle where they're defending relentlessly across the ground, creating turnovers.
Gives him a chance.
That adds 2 goals to Jamie Elliott, probably 2 more to Bobby Hill, gets Mychek 1 more. I think the goals will flow by the way that they play.
So Ash Johnson's in the side for the injured McStay, but I think Nathan Kruger's another option.
But he's injured too, isn't he?
Injured, yeah. So Kruger, McStay and Murphy are the only guys that have played considerable AFL footy on the injury list.
Well,
and then the emergencies are Frampton, Noble and Mitchell. And apart from that, they got what they got.
Well, interesting that Frampton hasn't got a game in front of young Dean playing in the grand final.
Yep.
I suspect that when you analyse that Mychek has been the workhorse and will still kick goals, but probably start with, does Jeremy Howe go forward? Do
They tried that last year, didn't they? But
and he kicked goals. But that means that Dean's still got to play on the back line unless they bring Frampton in.
They pretty much, McStay played a big chunk of the year, but they pretty much won a premiership with this forward line or some form of it. But everybody else across the whole ground was playing better football, and the midfield were more dynamic. I think they fix up the way that they're playing, and that's individuals plus as a team. I think that forward line will get much better looks at kicking a winning score. And a goal or two will be added to each of those players who are struggling a little bit at the moment.
They're right.
Last two games,
Lingy? There's just something feels off.
Yeah.
There's no flow. There's no connection.
Yeah, but to me the worst thing is both teams, both good teams, GWS and Sydney, have kicked over 100 points.
Okay.
That's not Collingwood. And now I think when I look at some of the goals kicked from the midfield, my first reaction is, where did it come from? Where are their direct opponents? They were nowhere near them.
Yep.
And the other one who's got to set the example, to me, for young Dean and anyone else in that back line, has got to be Darcy Moore. Darcy Moore was that far off his opponents today. He was getting away with it last year, as you said, Lingy, because there was a dynamic type of play around him.
Enormous pressure on the ball carrier for the opposition, so the kicks would come in high and rush.
Yeah, and Murphy was his wingman.
Yep.
Dean's not his wingman. He's actually trying to be the wingman for, and if you get me by the wingman, I'm talking about the Navy, the Air Force. So you cannot be that player that hangs off, particularly if the side controls the ball. You are going to get burnt, and by you getting burnt, you're going to burn other players around you. Darcy Moore was that far off tonight.
Agreed. I agree. I'm with you on Darcy Moore and his starting points. He's better when he's on an opponent and then reads the play at the right time and comes off. But through the middle of the ground, running type players, wings, mids, high half forwards, high half backs, who just need to steel themselves, grit their teeth a little bit and go, hey, this is on me. I need to be buying more, better defensively across the ground and move the ball quicker.
Better defensively.
It's Hoskin Elliott, Lipinski, Steele Sidebottom, Josh Dacos, Jack Crisp. All of those types of players are just off their really good
What about
footy.
John Noble? He must be the most unlucky man in football at the moment, because he played something like 23 games last year.
He gives the ball up. That's his biggest problem. He runs.
Missed the granny. He's out for the first two.
But you see, today, football, you've got to hold possession of football. If you give the ball up, which he does very, very regularly, but he's a goer. It's either him or Markov. Who do you have in the side? Markov's a bit taller. Mind you, he can advertise it too. I don't think there's too many players. When he's going to kick the football, he waves where he's going to kick it, so you know exactly where you line up for. But all those players are getting away with it. Lingy's spot on. All those players are getting away with it because the side was playing well. When the side's not playing well, you will start to identify players that get exposed.
Yeah.
I know we say it every year, but surely it's inescapable that the season has never started earlier, and there's never been more of a gap between when the year ends for some teams and when it ends for others. So with the pre-finals bye, Collingwood are still playing 5 weeks after the bottom 10 teams have finished. So they're on holidays earlier, they come back earlier. They basically have an extra 5 weeks in their pre-season. For Sydney, for example, who lost week 1 of the finals, they've got 3 or 4 weeks ahead of them. So, and then all of a sudden you're starting at the beginning of March and you're playing 2 games. They do look like a team that is underdone, that they haven't had the same kind of build-up that the opposition that they're playing have had. GWS, a different case last week, who only went, 7 days shorter than they did.
Yeah.
But I'm fascinated to see how Collingwood look as the year goes on and how much of a head start are they going to give away. Like, Geelong chased the year all last season and were never able to get back.
Cost them. They were then unhealthy later in the year, as in the injuries and niggles were compounding. The one, when you talk about their sharpness and ready and on, is their skill errors. We just didn't see them last year. Well, the Swans scored 12 goals, 6, so 78 points from turnovers tonight. That's massive.
Did you say 12-6? So 3 goals, 6 come from stoppages and kick-ins.
Yep.
3-6 come from stoppages.
3 goals, 6 from stoppages, 12
so
goals,
that's
6
normally
from turnovers.
60-40, 50-50, 45-55. Rarely is that's rare, that percentage. Wow.
I mean, you make the good point, Corbin, about being 5 weeks behind other teams, some other teams, but how much is it mental and just the hunger, Mick. When you've won one, trying to come back up and Lingy, you can speak to this as well. We spoke about, being unable to go to back-to-back. But they don't... It's early to say, but are they hungry?
2000... Look, I can only speak for myself. 2010, we won all but Geelong games.
Yes.
We were 20-2. So I don't think we lost... We didn't lose hunger. We just ran out of legs.
Yep.
And against a very good football side. Make no mistake about it. So there's no excuses here. But we certainly didn't lose hunger.
Did you ever, Lingy, backing up, coming back after a summer of celebrating?
No, not personally. Do I reckon as the year progressed in 08, did we just start drifting ever so subtly away from what made us a really good team? Yeah, for sure. I don't know if it was a hunger thing or just I can get away with that a little bit.
Well, the size are coming at you too, Lingy.
Yeah. The one that, talk about that hunger thing, they won the premiership, a superb premiership, brilliant premiership. They would have enjoyed it. They would have celebrated. They would have gone on holidays. Everything that we spoke about, everything they deserved. So I'm not saying don't do that, but just naturally, you don't approach the off season and the pre-season exactly the same way. Do you remember last year, Friday night, first game was Cats versus the Pies?
That's right.
We interviewed Braden Maynard after the game. Yep. I can still remember it. And he said after they lost that prelim final, about 2 weeks later, a whole heap of the boys who were still hanging around Melbourne were getting together and started training. He said, I was catching up with the Dacos boys and we were training straight away. That's that burning agony of losing a prelim final by under a kick. And they're training 2 weeks later in their off-season. So they're hitting day one of pre-season, flying and hungry and fit. And then pre-season, huge advances are made. That leads to a season like 2023. Naturally, that doesn't happen after you've won a premiership because you can take a breath and smile and you don't start training 2 weeks later. You start training 6 or 7 weeks later. And maybe your first 2 weeks of pre-season is just a little bit about just getting back somewhere near what you were rather than already making gains. So that's that little difference.
I always remember the great Marvin Hagler line, the former middleweight champion of the world, where he said, look, it's hard to get up and run at 5 a.m. in the morning when you're sleeping in silk pyjamas. So all of a sudden, when things are going a little bit better and life's good.
Good fight.
It's hard to get up and do the same thing. 78,933 into C at the Swans by 33 points over Collingwood. They led by 51 midway through the final term, and the Magpies kicked the last 3 goals of the game. The SMS number is 0437 774 774. A sample of that. Great call as always, guys. Love hearing Malikan's name. He's really established himself in this Swans 22 from Liam in Hobart. Thanks, Liam. Hello, team. Well done to the Swannies. They are on fire. I'm loving the fact that they're doing this away from home as well. All the best from Siv. Here we go. Me and my 2 little fellas, Emmanuel and I think it's Alisar. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Emmanuel and Alisar are loving the footy being back, listening to the call from Austria. So great to hear from you guys and everybody right around the world, from Rod in Hobart as well. No Buddy now, and we're seeing some forwards step up to the plate. Are the Swannies a premiership contender? And Shane in Coffs Harbour is already forecasting, says, can the Swannies go into round 6 with a 5-0 record? So they've won their first 2. They obviously play Essendon coming up next week, which is their Saturday night fixture.
Win that.
And then as we look ahead, following that, they play Richmond at the MCG. That's a Sunday game in round 3.
Well, the ground doesn't, it doesn't knock them anywhere because they used the ground beautifully tonight.
And then they play the West Coast Eagles in Gather Round at the Adelaide Hills, and they'll start favourite there.
So Rod from Hobart brought up a very good word that we haven't mentioned throughout the whole broadcast tonight, buddy. How interesting, how ironic would it be if he does his, 10 years in the end, incredible contribution of what he's done to Swans.
I don't reckon they're going to miss him
and
at
then
all.
they lose him and they become a better team. Remember when Hawthorn lost him when he went to Sydney and then they won the flag the next year? It's like you watch Sydney out here, they're less predictable. They've got mids that have to step up because the forward line is quite inexperienced now, because you've got McLean, Amati and Logan McDonald, young developing players. Is that a factor? The nobody.
No, there's nobody. It's not a factor. It's not necessarily a factor. It's not even thought of. I reckon when they run down the race and they've started their training, because
But for oppositions,
I don't reckon. I reckon the last 3 or 4 years the opposition really Kel, I think
he was such a big presence inside 50, wasn't he? He was always their number one target.
He may well have been, but he was not dynamic. He missed. Don't forget, he missed almost a full season in the last 3 or 4 years. He's missed a full season. He's had one good final series, maybe one good final game. So therefore, the bigger games, the big stage in September, he was just a good player, not the brilliant. You can overlook for a player, absolutely can overlook for a player. And when the worse the player plays, in other words, Buddy was on the decline in the last 4 or 5 years. If you keep looking for him, your game disintegrates, because what you end up doing is the second and third.
That's what I'm saying, is that they've gone off the radar slightly.
I reckon they dropped off 2 years ago, though.
Yeah, but if you're John Longmire, are you licking your lips at the fact that the great Buddy Franklin isn't there this year because you can have a game plan that's a little bit different? You've got young, inexperienced key forwards. You're asking your mids to score more goals. Luke Parker will come in, and probably because he's ageing, he'll play more half forward.
Well, my case with him was I just don't think he was worthy of a great deal of attention the last 2 or 3 years. He's going to have look. He'll prove you wrong. We go and kick 5 goals, but it was so infrequent. That's you needed to have a player that everyone goes, wow. Look,
could they be a better team this year, Lenny, without him?
The only thing to answer yours, Cal, about what potentially happens is those young forwards, thinking of Logan McDonald, thinking of Hayden McLean, if he's down there, you naturally are so deferential to the great player, the incredible player, that you are conscious of. Your instinct is, I should go and I should lead into that space, because that's what I've always done as a talented junior in development. But you just like, oh, hang on, that might be Buddy's leading space. It's more subtle than what I'm even saying it, but you just look around and think, oh, actually, no, so I'll come in behind Buddy because that's Buddy. And it happens with anyone, any of those truly great ones. You just become a little bit like, oh, no, actually, that's theirs. When that player leaves, it's this clear air of, okay, well, now it's up to me. It's my fault, and I see it, and the ball's coming in, and I can fly, or I can do this, and you just play with maybe that little bit more freedom and instinct. That's potentially what can happen. I don't know if that's going to end up being the case over the course of the season, but possibly.
6 games into the season now, so we've only seen the same 8 teams. We've seen Carlton and Sydney a couple of times. We've seen Richmond and Collingwood twice. Both the Magpies and the Tigers 0-2. The Blues and the Swans are 2-0. The other 10 teams that we haven't seen so far in 2024, all in action over the next couple of days. There has been a long meeting in the Collingwood rooms. Tim Hodges has been down there waiting in the main warm-up room for us. Hodgie, what are you seeing down there?
Corbin, well, the meeting has broken up. It's ironic, at the start of the coverage, we spoke and praised Collingwood's media department for always being so accessible and giving us Jack Crisp minutes before they ran out the race to start the game. This is really the first time we're getting donuts from the Collingwood media.